It's the first time it's ever happened on this scale. The U.S. credit rating has been downgraded. Kind of a big deal. Our journey towards a banana boat republic is well on its way, and it just goes faster and faster. Stocks sink after historic U.S. credit rating downgrades. Debt tsunami begins. U.S. to sell $1 trillion in debt this quarter, second highest in history as budget deficit explodes. And now we enter the phase where the big banks, with their endless money, are paying farmers not to produce all over the world, and in many cases just banning them producing. And they're paying fertilizer production facilities to stop production. And John Kerry told us a month ago and again this week, he said, we've got to close at least a third of the farms to save the earth. Farms are bad. We've got to cut food production. At the same time, the UN says there's record starvation and mass death. Give us more money.
Rallying patriots worldwide in defense of human liberty. It's Alex Jones.
Been on the air 29 years, and I would only air raid sirens maybe once a year when there was a really particularly big crisis going on. Now you notice we start the show with it almost every day. It's a good archetypal symbol of you're under attack. This is very serious. This is not a drill. You're being bombarded. And this is the radical globalist transformation of the world into the post-industrial state. Now, I have read the indictment against Trump that came out yesterday afternoon. And it's not about tooting our horn around here, but last Tuesday, and it was even the show headline, I've asked the crew to dig it up because I said it right at the start of the show. It's not going to be hard to find. I went on air and I said, from our courthouse sources, Trump will be indicted probably next Tuesday or Wednesday, and then he will turn himself in on Thursday. That's now all transpired, and they're ordering the president there on Thursday, and they're talking about clapping him in irons right there. They're trying to elicit a response. They're trying to elicit violence. They know they've culturally, politically lost us. They know the world's awakened to them. And even if we don't stage terror attacks or strike out violently, they're planning to trigger them and blame it on us. This is very easy to predict. And what you're witnessing, if we don't thread the needle properly on this, is the real end of this republic. And we're not just going to be some banana boat dictatorship like Venezuela when this is over. This is going to be the heart of evil that will make communist China blush at the tyranny. Now, interspersed with all this news, we'll go through the indictment that's incredible. Next segment, the indictments on all the charges that are all complete lies and fraud, that you notice that stocks sink after historic U.S. credit rating downgrade. That's the IMF and World Bank positioning us to, again, live like folks do in Nigeria and Venezuela. Our journey into slavery. I have CNN and Science Daily saying we must ban farms. Farming itself is evil and plants are bad. Zelensky, we have video, says nothing is enough for Ukraine. That's a quote. Nothing is enough. And everybody else is obsessing over Hunter Biden. That's all a big tar baby. He was always meant to be set up, and Biden was meant to be set up as the big distraction while they bring down the country and bring down the populist movement that Trump leads. They'll give us a token at the end of Biden stepping down and Biden being, his son being indicted. And then they'll later have the charges dropped like they did with Sam Bankman-Fried, who carried out a Ponzi scheme bigger than Bernie Madoff. That tells you how things have changed. Sam Bankman-Fried ripped over $30 billion off from investors, but that was okay because he was giving it to the Democratic Party and the CIA and to Ukraine. So we have a government totally at war with us that's totally captured at the top. And we've got a bunch of Republicans that basically are playing patty cake with it. Other than Trump, they're engaged in quarter measures. The only leaders telling the truth are people like RFK Jr. and Trump. That's why they're both under attack. I'm Alex Jones. We'll be right back. Well, my friends, it's Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. And I've been telling you for years that you would look back on the previous year as a cakewalk. And then you would look at that next year, the next year, as a walk in the park. Because we're in the New World Order now. And it's kind of like when an alligator, when you're fishing in Florida, decides to grab one of your kids, and you think it's bad when they got him by the leg and you see him drug into the water and disappear, but then you see it start spinning and the blood, and you try to get in and save your child, but by the time you get there, they're torn into pieces. We're at the stage now of the child disappearing under the water. And now they're going to spin, spin, spin. I'm a pretty tough guy. And I knew this was coming for a long time. But I got to tell you, I've been doing a lot of praying and getting right with Jesus. Because there's going to be full war with China and Russia. I mean, they plan to get rid of 90% of the people in the next 7 years. And they mean to do it. They're cutting all the main energy systems off right now, worldwide, except in dictatorships. And they are just going to put us into a meat grinder. And they'll do it by increments, though, always posing as the savior from the last crisis they created. So, it's the first time it's ever happened on this scale. The U.S. credit rating has been downgraded. Kind of a big deal. Our journey towards a banana boat republic is well on its way, and it just goes faster and faster. Stocks sink after historic U.S. credit rating downgrades. Debt tsunami begins. U.S. to sell $1 trillion in debt this quarter, second highest in history as budget deficit explodes. And now we enter the phase where the big banks, with their endless money, are paying farmers not to produce all over the world, and in many cases just banning them producing. And they're paying fertilizer production facilities to stop production. And John Kerry told us a month ago and again this week, he said, we've got to close at least a third of the farms to save the earth. Farms are bad. We've got to cut food production. At the same time, the UN says there's record starvation and mass death. Give us more money. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is the indictment of Trump, and this is the big one. I told you repeatedly last week, the exclusive, it was even one of the Daily Show headlines, thought it was important enough. I said Trump to be indicted next Tuesday and to turn himself in on Thursday. And that was directly from one of our people in the courthouse that heard them making their preparations for it. And the reason this is so important is it outlaws questioning elections, something the State Department's done since the end of World War II, officially going around and raiding countries' elections. And the number one thing they say that shows you have a free country in your elections is that you can question elections. Go to the State Department's whole section on integrity of elections worldwide, ensuring elections are good. And they go all over the country, from Venezuela to South Africa to Iraq, to make sure that election's fair. Boy, you know there's a big history of election fraud all over the world in history. But America's there to make sure it's good. And the number one thing, ladies and gentlemen, is making sure that you have a right to question it. Boy, it's a tall order to read Obama's indictment of the true president and the wildly popular candidate. This, of course, is the greatest example of open election meddling seen in world history. It's the most naked, most brazen, most out in the open. But bigger than that, it's outlawing the questioning of elections. Something Democrats have famously done when it's obvious that they lost, but it's their right. No one ever said arrest them for it, at least I didn't. And we've got all the clips of Al Gore saying the same things Trump said, and we've got clips of Michael Moore saying it, and Maxine Waters, and basically all of them. But when Trump did what Obama did, getting alternate electors, just in case somebody challenged him, well, guess what? He didn't get in any trouble for setting them up in Hawaii and several other states. But, Jack Smith says in his indictment, you've got free speech to question elections. And then he goes right into it saying, but you don't have the right. And they've got juries in D.C., fabulously corrupt, that, again, it's almost impossible to not be convicted by them. It's a cult. They all work for the system. They select them. They bring them in. It's a kangaroo court. Trump indicted on charges related to effort to overturn 2020 election. Look at this CNN front page. Why Trump's new indictment will reverberate for years. The ex-presidents reacted by resorting to the same inflammatory language and anti-democratic rhetoric detailed in the indictment. What are they saying right there? He says this is tyranny. He says this is election meddling to take out a popular political candidate, which it is on its face. No one could deny that has above a 70 IQ. Hell, I bet somebody with a 70 IQ understands that. So they're all over the news. I've got stacks saying, yep, you question the election, we're going to arrest your ass. And they're all over Twitter, Instagram saying, arrest everybody. The members of Congress, Ted Cruz was going to try to have a 10-day investigation that's in the Constitution. It's in the law. And they tried to censure him and have him thrown out of the Senate. Election meddling. If Beto O'Rourke can't beat him at the ballot box, well, we'll just remove him too. All because a few hundred people attacked the police, most of them feds and D.C. police attacking Capitol Police, and then the people behind didn't know. They opened the doors up and just walked in the velvet ropes. But the FBI and others that broke in, they're not in trouble, the ones that orchestrated it, and told Congress they did. No. Yeah, Ray Epps said, I orchestrated it. Because they had his text messages bragging. But that's okay when you orchestrate it. You try to stop it like I did or Trump did, well, then you're bad. But look at that. Why Trump's new indictment will reverberate for years. The ex-president reacted by resorting to the same inflammatory language and anti-democratic rhetoric detailed in the indictment. By the way, all we got to do to find that my prediction line, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, you go to the full show. It's archived at man.video, the Alex Jones section. Want somebody singled out to do it, please. And just go to the front of each full show, and I just say it right at the start. So it was the first few days of the week. I really want that. Okay, okay, thank you. Crew's great, but I just got to have these things. I should have told him before the show. So again, the ex-president reacted by resorting. Man, that speech is a bad thing. To the same inflammatory language and anti-democratic rhetoric detailed in the indictment. He's doing what got him indicted again. There's no election fraud. There's no indicting a president over and over and over and over again because he's 40, 50 points ahead, 60, 70 points ahead of the Republicans, 20 points, 30 points ahead of Biden. I mean, indicting someone because they're incredibly popular while the globalists gut the country, I mean, that's not election meddling. I mean, maybe he'll get indicted for that too. It's a lie. Jack Smith's not election meddling. And bears don't crap in the woods. And birdies don't flap around in the sky. Man, woo! We'll be right back. Now, when I point out that I keep giving you precise predictions that come true day after day, week after week, year after year, decade after decade, I don't do it to sit here and toot my horn. I remind you and new listeners, so you know, I'm not playing games, and no one knows as much as I do when it comes to battling the New World Order. Nobody. And I don't say that to act tough. I don't say that to brag. It's a fact. Nobody's got the record we've got. And it's because I'm immersed in this. This is what I do. I couldn't even sleep last night. So when I tell you this stuff, I'm not trying to scare you just to have fun. I'm trying to get people motivated to realize we are in deep crap. I just got deep chills, not the kind that are up your back, the kind that go straight up through you. And that's because my physiological body understands that we are not in Kansas anymore. And I say that because I know as listeners, you are informed and you care as well, and you've got your head in the game. And I bet there's a lot of you out there that know more than I do, but you just don't have a talk show. In fact, let me rephrase what I said. I don't know the most about the New World Order of anybody in the world. I know the most of anybody on air. That's a big distinction. And that's why I need all of you to go speak at city council, county commission, start your own local shows, start your own internet shows. I don't care if there's 10 listeners. That's how it starts. It'll build to 1,000, 10,000. They can't stop us all. There are brown people. There are red people. There are yellow people. There are pink people. I guess there are a few whites that are actually white people, but most white people are pink people. All of us have the same soul and mind God gave us to varying degrees with different gifts, but you know what's going on, and with the censorship and control coming in, if the enemy wins the next round of this, you're going to have to do this person to person in the very near future. That's how dark the days are. And I just want to impress upon new listeners that this is not a game. That's why they found the clip. They're dragging it in right now. It was the 28th, whatever day that was last week, 7/28/23, the full show. Here it is. Today I wore a white shirt, kind of a rarity, or a cream shirt, only shirt I had left that was clean. And I laid it out in the first 15 minutes. Exclusive. Trump indicted for January 6th. Told you it had been done. Federal courthouse in D.C. preparing his arrest for next week. I said specifically, they believe that he'd be indicted Tuesday, turn himself in Thursday, but they said it might move to indictment on Wednesday, turn in Friday. But this came directly from the inside. So when I tell you that Biden throws fits and defecates himself before he started going on TV saying my butt's been wiped, I'm not making fun of him. That's scary that the president's a puppet like that. And he's falling off bicycles and falling upstairs and grabbing on kids everywhere. This is humiliating. I tell you that because the Secret Service is so freaked out. We now know attacked dozens of times by his dog commander. Biden's like stumbling around at the beach at night. Looks like something out of The Thing. And when I tell you all this is because I'm going to tell you what's going to come next. I know what they're going to do next. And the fact that I know, and a lot of you know what I know, well, we better make sure everybody else knows it. You see this stack of articles right here? This is Exhibit 1 for Trump and the video clips we've got. But I'm telling you, folks, he can't get real lawyers because any real lawyer that defends him, they'll indict them too, which is what they're doing. They're indicting a bunch of his lawyers next that met with him and wargamed the election. And all they were doing was copying the strategy of John Podesta in the New York Times right before the election, saying, we're going to get alternate electors, we're going to say there's election fraud, and we're going to have our own inauguration even if the Supreme Court says he wins. That's that's like 50 times stronger than what Trump did. I mean, it's right here in the New York Times. Interviewing Podesta, and Podesta gave him the document. I've got the document where the Democratic Party was officially going to no matter what, and I have Pelosi saying, no matter what, we won't concede on MSNBC and on Meet the Press. I mean, I've got all these clips here in the stack today. I could do the whole rest of the show. Maybe we should. We got Roseanne Barr coming up and Roger Stone and more. But I could do the whole show and not even have time to talk, just playing you clips. I've got a 25-minute compilation 24 straight minutes of Democrats denying election results. Going back over the last 2 decades, way stronger than Trump. And Hillary saying that they would not accept it. On and on and on. And I'm talking about the 2020 election. So here's the headline where they war game it all. How the media could get the election story wrong. Okay? Here's another one. Here's the actual document. Preventing a disrupted presidential election and transition. But in the document, it says we'll have an alternate inauguration in Colorado or another state. I mean, how if Trump won, they'd call it a red mirage and then use the mail-in ballots to get him over the top, which they did. I mean, it's a confession. It's a battle plan. And you really could be indicted that after the Supreme Court rules through the battle, like they did for Bush in 2000, that even when the Supreme Court ruled that Biden had lost, they were going to not concede and have an alternate inauguration. Now, that's what they're accusing Trump of. This is illegal. Trump never got his investigations in the courts. They wouldn't even hear it. War games on Trump versus Biden race show risk of chaos. USA Today, all about it. And when's the document from? August 3rd, 2020. Look at the document right here. Go read it for yourself. USA Today about it. Trump could refuse to concede. Then they got their plan. Washington Post, how they'll steal it. So this is a big deal. We're going to go to break, come back. I'm going to play you just a short clip of the first 20 minutes or so of the show last week where I predicted all this on July 28th, and then I'm going to move in to the indictment. And man, I mean, I got a lot of other stuff to hit, but it all ties into this, but I'm going to have to get, over and over again, they say, and he's indicted for saying the election was a fraud, and he's indicted for meeting with people who agreed, and he said illegal aliens voted, and everyone knows no illegal aliens vote. A whole bunch of Democrat states let illegal aliens vote. I mean, what? Type in illegals allowed to vote. Illegals sent voter registration cards. Zuckerberg spent how many millions of dollars? 400 million, some insane number that doesn't even register. It's so big. It was over $400 million to get the names of all the dead people and folks that had moved out of districts. You moved from California to Texas. Oh, you didn't know you were going to be voting forever, though, in California. Or you move out of Illinois to Arkansas. You didn't know you'd still be voting Democrat or whatever you voted for back in the other state. I mean, it's wild, folks. It's wild. Didn't know your grandma died 20 years ago. She's still voting? Didn't know that? Why? We're going to arrest you if you say that. I mean, look at the CNN headline. They say, Trump's doing that illegal thing again. He says they're election meddling. Why, that's not true. You're not allowed to say that because we said so. We're Jack Smith. So let's dig into this indictment and what this really means to the Republic, along with the credit rating of the United States being lowered and the announcements to begin shutting down U.S. farms that's already begun in Europe and in Ireland and in Asia. You've seen the riots in Asian countries that started this a decade ago. It's all designed to implode society. I mean, this is true warfare. You see, in a high-tech, just-on-time delivery system, multi-crop economy, you can do incredible things, but when the technocrats are in control with policy and AI, they can selectively shut off any part of the economy they want and kill people en masse and cause incredible levels of instability and crime. An angrier world that Klaus Schwab talks about to bring in the New World Order. But there's going to be populists that stand against it. The Bolsonaros banned from running for office. Because why? Lula was advised by the State Department to say at their Supreme Court, he questioned the election. You can't do that. That's election meddling. No, it's not. What's the number one rule the State Department uses until now to decide if an election's free and fair? That you're allowed to investigate and question. But the big takeaway is this. They know they've lost the hearts and minds. They know the people are turning against them. They're cutting off the resources to make you so poor you can't even be politically active so they can dictate the terms of your surrender. And they tried the Justice Department, they admit this in a 20-page article about myself and Trump and Roger Stone a month ago. They tried to indict myself and Roger and others, and they tried to connect us to the grassroots and up to Trump, saying that Trump commanded us to have an insurrection, but there was no evidence. They subpoenaed our phone records, the telephone companies, everything. And of course, it wasn't there, because I know it wasn't there, because we wouldn't walk into their trap. That's ridiculous to attack the Capitol as if that would make us win the election. That's preposterous. We were there to protest it and have Congress investigate, which is our right. So this is an annihilation of the First Amendment. It's total election meddling. They're going after the sitting leader of the Republican Party, who's, again, up to 70 points ahead in polls against all other candidates, 20, 30 points ahead of Biden. The public's really waking up, and so they come in and say, you can't run. We're indicting you. And he says, that's election meddling. And we have Biden saying, I'm not going to let Trump win. I'm not going to let Trump run. We'll use the Constitution, meaning the law enforcement, that's a spin, to do it. We'll play that clip in a moment. It's clip 2. First one we'll play. But see, they're saying if they can get the head, which is Trump, they're then going to go down and say, well, just by questioning the election, that's illegal. We just indicted and then convicted Trump. That's their plan. And then set that precedent for everyone down the chain. And I was told this 2 years ago by high-level CIA sources that just said it is a full governmental order to outlaw basically the Trump Republican movement. And a lot of people are resigning their positions and are just totally freaked out and leaving the country because the plan is to set up a dictatorship. And I told you that 2 years ago. And these are people that have overthrown countries that were telling us this, okay? These are the Fletcher Prouty types that are still in government today. So you're getting it direct. Just like I got it direct last week, and I told you, here's a clip of it. It's Friday, July 28th, 2023, and we have exclusive information for you from multiple sources. Inside the Pretty Man, that's what's called, Main Federal Courthouse in D.C., Jack Smith has indicted Trump with a puppet grand jury. You cannot get anything close to a fair trial in D.C., that's well known. For January 6th, for an array of charges. And they have prepared the courthouse for his arrest, as early as Monday. But the grand jury is in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but they could come in any time and be there for the open certification of this. Of course, there was more charges filed today by the attack dog Jack Smith in the classified documents witch hunt hoax, including against a maintenance man for lying to federal agents, saying he didn't particularly see boxes in one spot. Boy, that's what you get when you talk to the friendly FBI agents that are from a special division of the Bureau, the same ones that ran the Whitmer kidnapping hoax and January 6th and the Russia hoax. Wouldn't get anywhere near those people, and I sure as hell wouldn't talk to them. This is election stealing. This is a live, ongoing, corrupt, multinational, globalist corporate coup setting up the Justice Department as a permanent dictatorship, an oligarchy over America. And then I've got all these newscasts, played one of them yesterday, where they've got government PSYOP officers on TV saying, we need to start arresting the Trump supporters for their lies, their political views. We need to come after them with Homeland Security. And Mitt Romney agrees. I've talked to multiple sources inside the federal courthouse in D.C., and they say the indictments are already ready on a host of things surrounding January 6th, and they've been told be ready as early as Monday for that announcement to happen, and then sometime next week, the 45th president to turn himself into this group of criminals in their kangaroo court. And then I went on to specifically say, my info is they'll indict on Tuesday. He'll turn himself in Thursday. That's now their plan. It's been announced. So, this is unprecedented, and they're not going to stop here. This means they're going to steal every ongoing election. They'll leave a few ceremonial Republicans in that have an R before their name but serve the globalists, so it has a little bit of an illusion for now. But they intend to fully just remove that, and the Democrats have said they want to outlaw the Republican Party and just have a one-party state. They'll have one that's communist and one that's communist light, but they'll all be the same communist. And I also talked about that on last week's show as well. A lot of folks don't like two parties, but three parties or four parties, parliamentary systems are very easy to rig and manipulate. The best system is a two-party system, but when you have a one party, it's the worst. All right, we're going to go to break. I'm going to come back and go through the indictment and more. We do have some good news. InfoWars is going to stay here as long as we can and stay on air. We got great product ready to ship. Our best seller, again, sold out for a long time, 5-6 months. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, all the vitamins, all the minerals, the key amino acids. Put it in water, put it in your refrigerator, drink it in the morning, drink it at night. Tastes delicious. Kids love it. Adults love it. It's amazing. And it really fortifies your immune system and just does such a great job. This, when we have it in stock, is our best seller. It is back in stock, 30% off at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And it's your purchase keeps us on air. So I want to encourage you all who love the product and want to stock up on it to get it. And those that haven't tried it to get it, it's available. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, advanced multivitamin formulations, the vitamins, the minerals, everything. InfoWarsStore.com and Fruit Punch flavor, InfoWarsStore.com. Also, 30 parts per million, really high quality from a top lab in the nation, private label by us under the name Silver Bullet, colloidal silver. It's back in stock, discounted as well. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. The new big sale is Christmas comes in August. Up to 60% off, double Patriot points, continuing the big sale. But we've got to end the 10% off on storable food and water filters this week. The August sale will continue for a few weeks at least, but some of the stuff will go off the list. So take advantage of it now. I'm your host, Alex Jones. As we battle for the Republic, we can stop the globalists, but we've got to move now. When I was growing up, my grandfather, my mother's father, told me everything that was going to be coming. My mother told me he was just an old, eccentric man. He wasn't. They don't even know the projects he worked on. And he never told anybody. But I know he developed secret weapons for the Pentagon. His son went on to work for the same people and told me much of what I then learned. And now here we are, not having to warn you about the New World Order and them coming for your children to cut their genitals off and shutting down farms worldwide and starving people to mass graves. We get a front row seat to war with Russia and all of the insanity. And the question is, will people just take this like it's no big deal and normalize it and succumb to the tyranny? Or will you awaken and realize it's not your main focus in life to fight this, it's the focus. This is everything. Not the stupid ball games, not the stupid movies. And look, I like a ball game or a movie as much as the next person, maybe more. But we're going to lose everything very, very quickly if we don't have a revival of awakening to God and the fact that devil exists and that evil exists and that we have a place in this fight. We have to choose the destiny we're going to be part of. Let's start getting into clips because Roseanne Barr is on in about 40 minutes. And then Roger Stone. And then a lot of people are tuning in off of the announcements I made yesterday. And before I go off here today, I've got some more information on that front I'll get into as well. I've learned more. Now, about discussions going on about how to close the doors at InfoWars. But it's all part of the season. It's all part of the time we're in. They've got to get through me to get to you, as Trump always says. It's 100% true. So don't feel sorry for me. Be concerned and understand that we're like those dragon's teeth that the Russians have laid out in eastern Ukraine to stop the NATO counteroffensive. They're not trying to blow up the dragon's teeth just because they want to blow up the dragon's teeth, the big concrete barbed wire pylons. They're destroying those to get through them to you. You're the target. Figured it out yet? Criminal jail time if you sell or produce incandescent light bulbs starting yesterday. Thought that never happened. It's the law. Now they're passing the regulations to make it criminal to have or to sell any type of gas-driven system. What do you think that's going to do? You think they were just going to stop cutting the Keystone Pipeline off? You think that was just the beginning or the end? It was the beginning. Headlines everywhere about how farms are the worst thing for the earth. Because if you'll let them ban carbon dioxide that plants breathe, well, you'd let them ban oxygen, wouldn't you? But let's play some of these clips. Here's Biden in December of last year. Reporter asked Biden what he would do about Trump running, and here's what the disgusting, arrogant pedophile had to say.
G7 conversation was tied to your predecessor, who is about to launch another campaign. So how do you reassure them, if that is the reason for their questioning, that the former president will not return, or that his political movement, which is still very strong, will not once again take power in the United States?
Well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by, if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
And they told Trump, we will indict you over and over again if you run. And Trump said, I'm going to run. And for that, I admire him despite all of his failings. Let's go to the next clip. Let's go to clip 11. Here's Jack Smith's press conference, and watch the body language. He looks even more freaked out and scared than he looked with the documents indictment in Miami, because he knows this is election meddling, this is blocking a popular candidate, this is fraud, and he's the guy that's the front man for it. Here it is.
Good evening. Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election. The men and women of law enforcement who defended the U.S. Capitol on January 6th are heroes. They are patriots, and they are the very best of us. They did not just defend a building or the people sheltering in it. They put their lives on the line to defend who we are as a country and as a people. They defended the very...
What really happened was the D.C. police, along with the feds and Antifa, dressed up like Trump supporters and attacked the Capitol. The outnumbered Capitol Police, because half have been sent away for crowd control, the request of the D.C. police, fought back. They were victims in the setup, just like the Trump supporters. And then once the feds broke through, some useful idiots followed in. Then others who were hundreds of yards back didn't know what was happening and saw folks being waved in by the police. They're totally innocent. And that's all come out. That's what happened. And that's what this guy's up to. But let's look at the repercussions of this. Here's what happened today to the U.S. credit rating.
We want to bring you this breaking news. Fitch has downgraded the U.S. credit rating to a AA from a AAA. They note the difference in governance between AA-rated countries versus AAA-rated countries. Also, the continuous or the many political showdown surrounding the debt limit. We knew when the debt limit showdown was going on that Fitch was considering this downgrade even if the debt limit was not breached. And so here we are with a downgrade of the U.S. credit rating to a AA plus from a AAA.
And Sam Bankman-Fried goes free for laundering the money and stealing $30+ billion for the deep state. So this is the bankers saying, if you question us putting you into total debt servitude and giving ourselves trillions of dollars every quarter, we will downgrade you, which is what they plan to do anyways, like we're a third world country. This is economic warfare against the people. Now here's a clip of Michael Moore on national television calling for alternate electors to be seated against Trump in the last presidential election.
There are people who are pushing very hard who think that because of some of the constitutional perils of the Emoluments Clause, because of the popular vote margin, because of a fundamental, they think, threat to liberal democracy, that electors should be persuaded and pressured on Monday to part with what their pledge is and vote against Donald Trump.
Yes, they absolutely should do that. Absolutely. I believe right now that there are electors. They only need 38 of them who have a conscience or who are worried about a man who won't attend the daily security briefings, who we now know Russia was trying to help get elected. I mean, can you imagine if you or I had been running for office and they showed that the Iranians were somehow involved in helping you or me get elected? What would happen to you or me, Chris? I'm just curious. What would happen?
I think it would be a totally chill situation.
All right, and just correction, there's another clip of them saying even if Trump won, they would seat them, and with him on another show. That's another one where they said that 7 years ago when Trump won. So, but they'll never let them show that to the jury, though, in D.C. And the jury will convict Trump. So, you heard it here. I mean, believe me, that's going to be a rigged jury, 110%. We'll be right back. Hour number 2. Please stay with us. Tell us about the products, how we support you, how we support all of ourselves, and the big event coming up.
Well, yeah, the first one, you can go to mypillow.com, use that promo code Alex, and you can get all these great discounts on all of our products. And just by visiting the site, you're going to get a $20 free gift emailed to you immediately. And there's the biggest special we have right now, the 20-year anniversary MyPillow for $19.98 for the queen size, normally $69.98. We're celebrating our anniversary with what my employees love doing best, producing and making the MyPillow.
And the model of businessmen and women with can-do know-how using the money for Americana freedom to fight the globalists is what they fear. That's what the debanking is about. That's what the financial attacks are about. That's why we've got to rush to support MyPillow.com and Infowars.com, plus their great products at both places, because we are the tip of the spear.
Meet Oliver Schwab. He is the managing director of the World Economic Forum. His sister, Nicole, is a member of the executive committee for the World Economic Forum. In July of 2021, she said that COVID was a huge opportunity to have their Great Reset.
I see it as a tremendous opportunity to have this great reset and to use this huge flows, of money, to use the increased levers that policymakers have today in a way that was not possible before.
Their father, Klaus Schwab, is the founder of the World Economic Forum. 7 years ago, he announced plans to start tracking the entire population and merge everyone with a central machine. what he now calls the Great Reset. The Schwab family is working together with other families because that's how Team Evil works. You can call them the Illuminati if you like, but they have no official name, and they are not illuminated. There is no telling how many family bloodlines are involved, but they keep it in the family for three main reasons, and they all have to do with power. First, and most simply, as a way to gain and maintain their fortune. Secondly, is to carry out long-term secret objectives. These families use insurance companies and private trusts to protect their own fortune from the fiat debt-based system that they created, and to generate the kind of money needed for a 100-year plan. The older generation outlawed natural medicine, introduced petrochemical pharmaceutical drugs, and polluted the environment. And now the younger generation is here to fix it with their totalitarian Great Reset. It's a multi-generational plan that works because of family loyalty and also because of the third reason why they keep it in the family: trauma-based mind control. Most victims of the CIA's trauma-based mind control program, MK Ultra, have come from families with a history of child abuse, because multi-generational child abuse makes a child more susceptible to mind control. And most of the characters we see as world leaders are not only actors on a stage, they are oblivious because they have suffered a lifetime of abuse and mind control. The overwhelming majority of people on Team Evil are not all in on it. They simply do as they are told. They follow orders and they don't ask questions. These families see having children as a means of gaining power and wealth. They see their own children as property, as slaves to do the family's bidding. But perhaps it's more like a cult than a family. Nearly 1 million child orphans were distributed throughout America and the Commonwealth in the late 1800s by an international secret society called the Odd Fellows. Delivered primarily by train, many of these orphans were born in private homes owned by the Odd Fellows and their offshoot, the Daughters of Rebecca, an all-female Masonic organization that featured symbols of mass breeding and fertility. Philip Eugene de Rothschild says that the Rothschild family alone has produced over 100,000 children in these secret breeding programs. Most of the U.S. presidents during this time were Freemasons. 4 of them were Oddfellows. And at last count, 34 U.S. presidents are directly related to Charlemagne, king of the Franks, who is believed by these Illuminati bloodlines to be of the Merovingian bloodline, a genetic set that they highly value. And Team Evil has always been obsessed with genetics. So it really isn't that strange to point out the similarities between Justin Trudeau and Fidel Castro, Angela Merkel and Adolf Hitler's mother, Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley, or even Obama and Akhenaten. The only way these families and their abused mind control minions are able to control the rest of us is by dividing us. And if we, the people, could change that, then we could change everything. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Very important report. Klaus Schwab and the Bloodlines Illuminati, now at banned.video. Hope you'll share it. Hope you'll get it out. We can beat these people together, but we've got to understand their game plan. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. We are now into hour number 2. Thank you so much for joining us on this August 2nd, Wednesday transmission. Okay, I just spent most of the first hour on the most important indictments yet by the criminal regime that knows it stole the 2020 election. The big takeaway is they're trying to outlaw questioning elections, which is totally First Amendment, whether you're right or wrong. The evidence is overwhelming there was fraud. Major polls show upwards of 80% of Americans believe there was election fraud. Are they all going to be arrested? Well, that's what Jack Smith basically says in his indictment, that Trump questioning it was a lie, he says, with no witnesses of Trump thinking he was lying, which he wasn't. And now they're talking about indicting his co-conspirators that are his lawyers and others like Rudolph Giuliani. And again, I'll show you this headline from the first hour. CNN, why Trump's new indictment will reverberate for years. The ex-president reacted by resorting to the same inflammatory language and anti-democratic rhetoric detailed in the indictment. And that's the talking point everywhere. Trump questioned the election, that's illegal. I'm not going to just put you through listening to 20 plus minutes of Democrats trying to seat alternate electors, saying they wouldn't accept if Trump won in 2016 or 2020. I already showed you a lot of the documents where they're in the New York Times saying we're not going to accept it even if the Supreme Court rules that's the case. But that's what they're doing. I already covered it last hour, but let's just show the headlines since we're doing that. Here they are. Let's go over these. Here's the New York Times with the John Podesta, August 2nd. We have the document they refer to here about under no shape or form or situation would they accept a Trump win, including they would have their own inauguration and say Biden was the winner, how the media could get the election story wrong. Another article on the Washington Post, Trump could refuse to concede. Then they got their plan to steal it. War games on Trump versus Biden race show risk of chaos. USA Today. Here's the actual document. Go read it for yourself. Preventing a disrupted presidential election and transition. And what it does is disrupt and block the transition. And then we have the indictment here by Mr. Smith, the former UN prosecutor. Here's some of Trump's responses. I hear that deranged Jack Smith, in order to interfere with the presidential election 2024, will be putting out yet another fake indictment on our favorite president, me, at 5 p.m. Why didn't they do this 2.5 years ago? Why did they wait so long? Because they wanted to put it right in the middle of the campaign. Prosecutorial misconduct. Trump continued. Also, why are they putting out another fake indictment the day after the crooked Joe Biden scandal, one of the biggest in American history, broke out in the halls of Congress? A nation in decline. Now the credit rating lowered. And here's Trump's actual statement, which you won't see anywhere on the news. They just say Trump is a criminal. He's saying we're election meddling, which is what they're doing by definition. Statement from the Trump campaign. This is nothing more than the latest corrupt chapter in the continued pathetic attempt by the Biden crime family and their weaponized Department of Justice to interfere with the 2024 presidential election, which President Trump is the unprecedented frontrunner, which you can't deny that, and leading by a substantial margin, 70% against the Republicans, 20-30% against Biden. But why did they wait for 2.5 years? And he goes through the same statements. This is the answer. Election interference, the lawlessness of these prosecutions of President Trump and his supporters is reminiscent of Nazi Germany, the 1930s, the former Soviet Union, and other authoritarian dictatorial regimes. President Trump has always followed the law and the Constitution with advice from highly accomplished attorneys. These un-Americans, witch hunts, will fail, and President Trump will be reelected to the White House so he can save the country from the abuse, incompetence, and corruption that is running through the veins of our country at levels never before seen. This is all true. 3 years ago, we were strong borders, energy independent, no inflation, and great economy. That's not true. There was some inflation. Today, we are a nation in decline. That's all true. President Trump will not be deterred by the disgraceful and unprecedented political targeting. So that's 99% true. Inflation's much worse, granted, but it was there. Okay. So that's what we've got. And, I mean, I could go through the indictment for you if you'd like. I guess we can some. Here's the lengthy indictment, and it just says over and over again, gaslighting. You have a right to question elections, but not to lie about them. You have a right to speech, but just not your speech. Oh, we're not censoring RFK Jr. We just don't want him to speak. Remember that a few weeks ago? We're not censoring him. We just tried to censor him so he couldn't speak. And they go on to say that you have a right. The defendant has a right, like every other American, to speak publicly about the election and even to claim falsely that there has been an outcome determinative fraud during the election and that he had won. But they go on to say he can't involve himself in a conspiracy to try to change it. Oh, I see. Each of these conspiracies, which built on the widespread mistrust the defendant was creating. Oh, so there's widespread mistrust because they don't trust you, but it's his fault through persuasive and destabilizing lies. So he's being indicted for lying, which he's not lying, but do you see the precedent trying to set it? And it goes on and on and on and on with his public statements and other statements. And then they have statements by some of his lawyers that we know were double agents saying they didn't agree with him. So, oh, look, one of his lawyers disagreed with him, but a bunch agreed. So we're going to indict the lawyers that agreed with him and him. That's coming next. And the defendant's co-conspirators that lied with him. Do we have recordings of them in a meeting saying, let's lie? No, they really thought there was fraud, which there was. Blocking out the windows at all the battleground states, trucks being delivered with only Joe Biden ballots middle of the night, Trump way ahead, them saying, don't worry, it's a red mirage. All the anomalies, the ballots that wouldn't work in the Republican jurisdictions in many states like Arizona, the names of dead people showing up, the illegals voting. I mean, it all came out. There's been, but no, they just say, nope, no fraud. And it goes on and on and on. And they've got stuff in here about, and then he claimed there were illegal aliens. I mean, it's just, look at this one. In another message intended for another United States senator, co-conspirator one repeated knowingly false allegations of election fraud, including that the vote counts were certified the states in Congress were incorrect, and the governors who had certified knew they were incorrect, and that illegal immigrants had voted in substantial numbers in Arizona, and that Georgia gave you a number, which is 65,000 people who were underage voted. And it goes on from there. So, oh my gosh, they said illegal aliens were voting. Anybody can type into a search engine, Democrat cities legalize migrants, legalize non-citizens voting. So I guess they don't technically call them illegal aliens anymore. See, it's all definitional. And then the vote harvesting and the ballot harvesting and the names being called by Facebook of people that didn't live in the districts that voted and learned they voted but didn't vote and didn't even live in the state. And movies like 2,000 Mules and the rest of it, but just all of that disregarded. But even if Trump was wrong, he has a right to challenge it. What did Al Gore do? What did the Democrats do when Trump won in 2016? They tried to block it with electors and all this. So again, how are they doing this? Because they're crazy frauds. And they're out of control. They're like cornered rats. They know the people have turned against them. So all they can do now is try to outlaw questioning elections so they can steal all the future elections. No exaggeration, there are tens of thousands of different video clips of Democrats in the last 30 years challenging elections the exact same way Trump did. They could just never get 1 million people to go protest and say that they thought an election was fraud. I could play you Al Gore challenging the election. I could play you all these clips, but you've seen them. And now they've indicted Trump and are about to indict a bunch of his lawyers for sitting around and challenging it and believing it was stolen. I mean, Biden didn't even campaign. He couldn't get 20 people at a campaign stop. Trump had millions. But think about the indictment. Trump said illegal aliens are voting. Look at this headline, Pew Research, highly respected, big polling company. Most of the 23 million immigrants eligible to vote in the 2020 election live in just 5 states. Pull up headlines all day. Democrats legalize migrants voting. They don't use the word illegal. So if you search the word illegal, it won't come up. Democrat cities legalize non-citizens voting. And they go, oh, but it's just local elections. We just give them voter registration and sign them up, but oh, they can't fill in the box for federal. But of course they are. And now they've passed laws all over the country that illegal aliens can be police officers. Now, there's the Washington Times. For the People Act allows Democrats to register illegal voters. I mean, and they're going to convict Trump, folks. It's in the indictment. I just showed it to you. They've indicted him for lying and saying illegals voted. Again, that's like indicting the Dallas Cowboys for saying that you use a football in football. Secretary refers 1,600 non-citizen registrants to local DA's GBI state election board. That's in Georgia. That was just last year. But there are no illegals voting. It's a lie. He's indicted. It'd be like if I said, I'm wearing a black shirt today. And Jack Smith said, no, you're not. You're indicted. And I'm like, looks pretty black to me. But there you go. Roseanne Barr is coming up next segment to talk about this. Roger Stone next hour. I want to thank the listeners for your prayers and support. Been a lot of stuff going on around here that I spoke about some yesterday. I'll know more this afternoon, and I'll be back on the War Room to give you an update. That's what I decided to do that, 3 p.m. Central, sometime thereafter, just to make sure I have enough time to get all the information exactly straight. Let's say I'll be on the War Room 4 o'clock Central with Owen today. But now let's move into the other news. Stocks sink after historic U.S. credit rating downgrade from AAA to AA. That means the slide into even bigger oblivion. Debt tsunami begins. U.S. to shell out $1 trillion in debt this quarter. Second highest in history as budget deficit explodes. But instead, most people are obsessing and focusing on Hunter Biden, which again, Biden's a puppet. His son's a puppet. They're a chew toy for Republicans. And then all they'll have is Biden at some point step down, and then it changes the subject onto something else. We need well, I guess this just broke. S&P Global just also stripped the U.S. That hadn't happened until a little while ago. Earlier this morning, it was just Fitch. Now it's S&P. That's even bigger. S&P Global. All right, continuing. People are obsessing over the Hunter thing, and I see Republicans spending about 80% of their time on this. And it's really an amateur move. We should be focusing on the energy being cut off, on the borders wide open, on the fentanyl, on impeaching Biden for things that are on record, the human trafficking, the war with Ukraine, the money laundering, and going after Biden for taking money from the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Chinese. So there's a story there, but obsessing on Hunter when we already have Biden dead to rights taking the money from the Russians is a distraction. GOP Representative Scott Perry, it's going to take an impeachment inquiry to get answers. The Biden DOJ and IRS are stonewalling. I agree with that. Boom, it's happening. Chairman James Comer spoke with Speaker McCarthy about impeachment following Devon Archer testimony, the whistleblower. White House Republicans launched investigation of Hunter Biden's deferral plea deal. House Oversight Chairman says some of Hunter Biden's blow paintings were going to China. Joe Biden met with Moscow mayor's wife before $3.5 million wired to Hunter. So what I'm saying, Hunter is important. It's just that only focusing on him and not the puppet masters above him, like Obama and their controllers, is a distraction. House panel demands docs from Hunter Biden art buyer, Elizabeth Naftali. Hunter Biden told Devon Archer to get a burner phone 3 days before meeting Joe Biden. But Democrats have been all over the news saying, okay, he did talk to him. The president did before that when he was vice president, but it's okay because he's just a loving father. Perjury. Hunter Biden caught misleading judge under oath over bar membership in Connecticut. Then it goes on and on and on and on. Here's one. I mentioned it. Hacks. Biden working the phones with Hunter's foreign business partners is just him being a great dad. Isn't that sweet? Let's show people this article. I'm not going to subject you to the video. When asked Andrea Mitchell of NBC News why she and NBC aren't covering the bombshell story about Hunter Biden's and Biden corrupt business dealings, she said, we cover what's reliably truthful, and then walked away. But we know they're liars. We know they're a fraud. How many times do we have to discover that until we just go over this and over this and over this? The carbon taxes, the ESGs, the New World Order, the World Economic Forum, the global government. Again, the farms being shut down, the attacks on energy infrastructure, the mutilation of children, the whole globalist agenda, destroying the blue cities. That's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. And then these headlines. Nothing is enough, says Zelensky. It's unlimited. Roseanne Barr is coming up. Please remember, we're listener supported. We've got amazing products that enrich your life and keep us on air. You're the boosters. You're the funders. You're the reason we're here. Thank you all for your support. We have Christmas Comes in August special right now, up to 60% off across the board, double Patriot points, and Vitamin Mineral Fusion, the favorite. All the vitamins, all the minerals, all the key amino acids for your immune system and health. Tastes great as well. It's back in stock, 30% off, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. We'll be right back. We are now at the halfway point of this hour. Roseanne Barr is our guest, joining us via Skype. And I wanted to get her take on the Hunter Biden situation and Trump and the January 6th situation, the ongoing live coup against our republic. It is wild. Roger Stone's going to be joining us next hour, as well as Owen Schroyer. Roseanne Barr, thank you so much for being with us during these very dark times for our republic and the world.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm always thrilled to be with you, Alex.
You've got a lot to say, I know. I've been watching your statements. Break it down for us.
Well, I think that Hunter Biden is, he's so symbolic. It's like so many levels of stuff. Like, so basically he's tortured and, he was put in a position to be, he's like the symptom bearer in all of dysfunctional families. They have a symptom bearer. And that's what I think he is for his family. And he was put in that position by his dad, to be the bag man, right?
Yes.
And I think he was trained to be that way because, if you look at, he's got that tattoo of China Lakes on his back like that Monster drink does. It's the same tattoo, basically, of China Lakes where they do those Bohemian Grove type things to kids. You know what I'm talking about, right, Alex?
Oh, there's no doubt that the Bidens are part of trauma-based mind control and ritual sexual abuse.
And so I think that he suffered that. And I think that he also had trauma when his mom and sisters were killed in that car accident. And I think that he has suspicions about it. And you can just see that he's a drug addict. And, drug addicts are in madness. And I think whenever I watch him, like it's kind of like a drug addict wants to be stopped. They want to be saved and they want somebody to stop them or help them. That's why they go so far until they break, and then they ask for help. But he keeps getting enabled instead because he's useful. And I think that all of America is being forced to enable his addiction, and because we're all addicted in America, addicted to drugs or screens, and I say bullshit. We're addicted to bullshit. We'd rather have bullshit than our daily bread.
Well, I got to tell you, Roseanne, it's definitely paradoxical that he can commit all these crimes, his father can commit all these crimes, the deep state can commit all these crimes, and all these chefs can die at the Clinton's house and Obama's house while he's there and all the rest of it, and there's no investigations, no nothing, and Biden brags on TV that, you know, he threatened to take $1 billion away from Ukraine if they kept investigating his son, and he and Burisma, the natural gas company. And then now, what do you make of this January 6th indictment of Trump? It actually says Trump falsely claimed illegal aliens voted. They've arrested and indicted thousands in Georgia alone for the last election doing that. I mean, this is crazy. What do you make of what's happening to Trump?
Well, I think that, you know, there are two things going on if you look at it. If you read the Bible, you'll see that there were two magicians that tried to always mess with the Jewish people. And one of them was named Balak, and he kept on trying to put a curse out on the Jews, but he got mad because it kept on turning into a blessing. And of course, by Jews, I mean people who, you know, back in the day, it was people who were children of Abraham, right? Who believed that there was one God and that he didn't require child sacrifice. Anyway, so, and I think that has a lot to do with everything. But now I've kind of lost my train of thought for where I was going.
No, you were on Hunter Biden, and I mean, it's just the spectacle of them stumbling around everywhere, bombed out of their brains, saying they work for the Chinese, and then meanwhile, this wonderful president is being indicted.
Yeah, they try to curse Trump by indicting him and impeaching him and all this stuff, but every time they end up exposing themselves, and it hurts them. That was what I
agree with you so far, but I think
but now this indictment of Trump, which I was reading a lot, I got right on and started researching. It allows Trump to bring in discovery, which is what we all want, because every court in this country has turned down anything that anybody's brought to that court to prove election fraud. But this indictment of Trump will allow Trump to bring up all the facts of that have been buried by those Obama courts, and he's allowed to bring in discovery. So once again, I think it's going to boomerang on a big time, and I think that everything that Jack Smith has done is pretty much boomeranged on him. And they just like a bulldog to go after somebody and scare them. They don't care if they win or lose. I think that's the takeaway. They just like that you get attacked and shut up for a while, and then they unleash the next one after they lose. And so that's what's going to happen. But I think this time Trump is going to introduce facts and discovery that were withheld in every other case where the people of the United States tried to question the election, which is a crime, of course.
Well, Jack Smith didn't look too confident and too confident walking up to that podium yesterday.
No, I think he's really terrified, and I think he's being forced to do it against his will. All you have to do is look at him. He's got the wide-eyed realtor Adam Schiff look, you know, that I always say, well, that, you know, just read some body language. Read Hunter Biden's body language. He is possessed by madness, and it's infected our whole country. Like, he's so mad and so sick, and it's infected our entire country. And people who are also involved in his scams, they're probably, I mean, they can't find whose Coke it was in the White House. Okay, all of these scams, those same people are guilty for, you know, bringing in drugs over our border and letting that happen. It is so corrupt from bottom to top. And all they do is keep enabling Hunter. And I guess they don't want to help him. They don't care whether he lives or dies. He's just, you know, the linchpin. I thought today we should pray for his soul, because he could help a lot of people. He's caused so much irreparable damage that he has to answer for. But he looks to me like somebody who wants to unburden himself. And I do think that he turned in his own laptop because he couldn't take it anymore. And look at the stuff that's on that laptop and that they censor. I mean, he's on there having sex with the Obama's daughters. Have you seen that?
You're absolutely right. Well, the deep state, I agree. The two impeachments, the Russiagate thing, that all blew up in their face, but they don't stop. Now they've got all these criminal indictments that are over the top. They've certainly tripled down here. What do you expect their next move is going to be? I mean, and I see this backfiring, but how do you see it backfiring?
The backfire is that America wakes up from the madness that it's infected with before the fever breaks before it causes permanent brain damage. We're in a fever and we have to break it. We have to wake up before we get permanent brain damage from this fever that is inflicted on us, just like everything else they inflicted on us by their lies and their constant propaganda to hide the truth. We need the truth. And we're ready to hear it too. I mean, I don't care how many sleepy people there are out there that are not ready for the truth. Good. Don't be ready then. Bring it out anyway. It's all there. It's all on that laptop. Him with little 9-year-old girls in lingerie. Are you kidding me? They're hiding that. And then they, try to censor Sound of Freedom, which is about much the same thing. And it's all about drugs, too. Drugs found in the White House. Are you kidding me? It's drugs, drugs, drugs over the border, killing people right and left in every family. Now, every family has a drug addict. And I think that that's why they must be doing the same thing in their family with their drug-addicted family members, just ignoring it till they die. But somebody has to say, stop.
I think you said something really central here that I've meant to make the point more on air. When I sit back, I think, really, what's the big problem? America consumes more drugs, I forget the statistics, than like the next 100 countries combined. It's some insane number like that. More prescription drugs, more illegal drugs, more alcohol. We are really, right now, a cursed, drugged out, insane nation, and nobody's more insane
and you know what, Alex,
than the leaders.
We're also the #1 consumers of child porn, and we are the hub, us and the Ukraine are the hub of the organ and child sex trafficking centers in the world, besides the obvious ones that nobody will name. But I mean, come on, people. Come on, people, stop lying to yourself.
By the way, we're just getting numb to it.
Before the fever gives you brain damage.
An international group last week dug up a big mass grave that Ukrainians had put people in Russian areas they took, and they found hundreds of dead babies with their organs cut out. That's confirmed. And that's just a blip in the news.
I know.
One grave.
I know. And it's been going on for so long. For so very long. And, every time it rears its head to inform the American people of where their tax money is going, they just go to sleep harder and watch more TV and more video games. You are going to be held accountable for what you've allowed and the bullshit you've swallowed. You're going to vomit it all back up and have to sit there with it. You better wake up. And now look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. I mean, you can't walk down the street without making the mental note that most of the people on the street who are homeless are Black Americans. So stop with all your bullshit. And then, stop it. Stop voting for that party that's doing that to you. I've tried to sound that alarm for so long and, of course, called a racist for it. But, I mean, my God, they have every single community under such heavy mind control that they can't even realize the fact that they're free. You're not in slavery. You Jewish people are voting for the Democrats. They just started BDS against all the Jews in Israel and America. You're not slaves. You're free in America. And you're helping them take that away from us. What is wrong with you? Wake up. Stop eating bullshit. God, it makes me so mad. All I can do is just say, I just have to center and pray for souls. I know I swear and everything like that, Alex, but I get too passionate.
Well, I mean, look.
I want to pray for the soul of Hunter Biden. He looks like he's in agony. He looks like he's in madness. He looks like he cannot scratch that itch that comes from soul death, and he can't. But you know what? He could unburden himself. He could help stop it. He could tell all that he knows. He could help stop it, and he could clear his conscience before he meets his maker in those last seconds when he dies. He could go with a clear conscience, and whatever there is left of his soul, and you can see it's in there on fire in every picture I see of his eyes. I just pray for you, Hunter, that you could realize that you could do the right thing right now. You could get healed right now by telling the truth and doing the right thing and helping to ensure that this stops. Everything that you were part of, everything that you suffered in your life, you don't have to help that continue. I think you don't want to, and you could come back to the human beings. You could come back to the human beings.
Well, I mean, clearly the Bible says pray for our enemies, but I think Hunter, I'm not judging him, but I think he's far beyond gone. But let's talk about the abuse. Canada trans person requests euthanasia due to pain and complications after sex surgery. And it continues, trans slams doctor for euthanasia denial. So they'll kill a child that's, quote, depressed in Canada, but won't let somebody they've mutilated kill themselves. Can't endure brutal pain from surgical built vagina, which don't work. They cut the penis off, create a big giant hole that never heals. You've got to keep a device in. I mean, this is just beyond crazy.
It's Nazi science. It's Nazi science, Alex. These are people are Nazis. You know, most of all of the Nazis who committed the horrors were doctors. And look they're all in bed with that kind of stuff, eugenicists and stuff. They're doctors. They're academics. They're professionals and all that class of people. They're demonic. For God's sake, leave children alone. Leave them alone.
Talk about demonic. I see this every day. Backlash erupts over Doc Martens shoe featuring transgender with mastectomy. How beautiful it is for women to cut their breast off. Here's another one. New boycott as UK coffee giant celebrates women having breasts removed. It's everywhere. I mean, you talk about totally demonic. This is it.
Yeah, well, they hate women. They're so fearful and loathing of women, and they want to get rid of women's rights. That's why they can't define what a woman is, because then they don't have to talk about rape, and they don't have to talk about child rape either. The thing they're really working on is to remove the age of consent. That's so tied up with all this stuff.
At the base of it is the destruction of innocence. It's a satanic energy sucking that's taking place. But I agree with you. There's a global awakening happening. That's why they're panicking.
Well, I just pray that Americans can wake up to truth and not be so afraid of it and not scour Twitter for, liars that they go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'll repeat that. I'll parrot that. I mean, don't be afraid of the truth. It's staring you right in the face. And if you aren't going to face the truth, you're not going to make it.
Going into this election, how do you see this unfolding with all these federal and state indictments, more to come? President Trump absolutely under attack because they want to go after the American people. That's why you're under attack. It's why I'm under attack.
That is who they're attacking. It's the voters.
Well, that's a true statement that Trump says, and it's totally true. They're trying to shut us down because they want to shut everybody down. And look at how they took your rant out of context and said that you were anti-Semitic when you were just being sarcastic and said you were. But notice they backed off of that real quick because people didn't buy it, Roseanne.
I know, and I was so grateful and happy for that. I was like, man, that's just proof of our power. We can stop them because they're just strung along with a lot of words that end up to mean nothing. But we have the power, the people. People have the power. And, all you have to do is just wake up and turn the light on. Don't be afraid of the truth. And just talk to other people who know more than you do. Stop calling them crazy. Stop calling me crazy. I was right about everything I've said. And nobody ever goes, we're sorry, Roseanne, that we called you crazy when you said that, like in my 1998 interview with Trump, I said, Trump, don't let your fellow billionaires turn America into a communist country. It's right there in 1998. And I've been out there alone for a long time, just being called crazy and a conspiracy theorist. But everything I've said has happened. When I ran for president in 2012, every single thing I said would happen has happened. It's a class war, and it's staged by fake leftists. I mean, talk about MK Ultra. These fake socialists are working for billionaires to convince people to bring in socialism that is actually fascism. I mean, it's just classic mind control.
It is. Let's shift gears. They say they want to make us wear masks again all over the news, that COVID's back. It didn't come from Wuhan when we know it came from Wuhan. Now this Chinese lab in California, 20 infectious agents, including COVID, hepatitis, chlamydia, are found in a lab injecting mice with disease, operating. It is shut down after investigation found it was filled with hazardous materials, chemicals, and medical waste. I mean, they've got these insane Dr. Frankenstein labs everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, they do, because you know what? They're just all in bed with pharma and chemical companies. You know, they're street gangs for chemicals and things that kill. They're getting paid to do that, to get those profits up. Just like the Nazis did with Zyklon B, they're getting paid to kill us, and they're using our own damn tax money to do it too. On top of it, with what's his name out there in California, Nancy Pelosi's nephew, Newsom. Look at that! Look at he didn't win that. They tried to recall him. Look what he did there.
Well, let me show you some of the latest stuff. NBC News, what could it be? Mainstream media shocked by 30% increase in heart attack deaths among ages 25 to 44, saying, oh, it's COVID. Infant vaccine linked to increase in all-cause mortality. New research shows. I mean, it is coming out that they're killing us. And look at this, Chinese tennis star Yibing Wu, 23, collapses in scary city open scene. Broncos to cut KJ Hamler after wide receiver reveals heart condition. This is the Fox News. This is just today. Look what happened last week to LeBron James's son. Heart attack. Will never play again. They say it's COVID, even though he was triple vaxxed. I mean, this is a Holocaust. This is them standardizing, normalizing, killing us, and then covering it up. We've got Roger Stone and others coming up next hour. I'd love to get you back in studio for a full hour soon, but I'm glad we got you for a limited time. RoseanneBarr.com. Closing comment. You got about a minute and a half, Roseanne.
Well, I just pray that that the light of intelligence from the Creator will reach through this veil of BS to reach the souls and hearts of all of America, that they can wake up before it's just too late, and it almost is already. But, you know, this is the last second that it's possible for you to wake up, so we don't lose everything that we have worked so hard to build. And I'm talking to all the people straight down Main Street, the middle of this country, every color, every class, everybody who cares about this country and freedom in the world.
Beautifully said. Look forward to seeing you and the family. Maybe we should hook up again when you're doing a show with Joe Rogan like we did a while back, and all get dinner together or something. Roseanne, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alex.
That's a good idea. Joe and I should take her out to dinner. Okay, great lady. Very interesting, very informative, and definitely been right and demonized for it, but now vindicated. All right, Roger Stone is coming up. Owen Schroyer's coming up. I'll be back in studio tomorrow, but I've got to go deal with the stuff I told you about yesterday and keeping InfoWars on the air. We're here. We're not going to go away overnight. I believe we're going to stay on air, but we need your prayers. We need your support. It's funding that keeps us on air. We've got just enough, and there's some people trying to argue that's not enough just to shut us down. But you're going to come through. The products are ready to ship. InfoWarsStore.com, finally back in stock. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, all the amino acids, all the vitamins that are essential. Key amino acids as well for better absorption. Critical for your immune system, all your body's functions, your stamina, your energy, everything. Vitamin Mineral Fusion back in stock at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. There's also a P.O. box where you can order on the site, InfoWarsStore.com as well. We also have Silver Bullet, 30 parts per million colloidal silver, sold out for years, now available again. So important to have in your medicine chest and your stockpile, but also just good for regular use. InfoWars Store has it all. InfoWars Store. Nitric boost for your heart. We've got all Super Female Vitality, close to selling out. Still 60% off. We have the Christmas Comes in August sale going right now. Get a book. Get a film. A few copies left of my book, The Great Reset and the War for the World. That's a fundraiser. Or buy it for $20. The regular hard copy. InfoWarsStore.com has the signed and unsigned books, The Great Reset and the War for the World. And we also have the new CBD oil. We have the regular 1,000 milligram at about half the price you're going to pay from leading competitors that's highest rated. It's still great. It's wonderful. It's a little bit lower price. But we now have 3,000 milligram made right here in Texas from one of the top labs. That's a great deal as well. We've private labeled it to give it to you about 30% off what they're even selling it for. That's 50% off what retailers are selling their other brand for. We private labeled it as Rebel Zen. Amazing CBD oil for all your nerves, your electrochemical system in your body, your neurons, your neurological systems. It's so good. Doesn't get you high, doesn't depress you, just makes you clean and focused, but also helps you rest better, but doesn't make you sleepy. Just helps you have better, deeper rest. It goes great with our other sleep aid products. It's all there. Rebels in, 33% off, super high quality, full spectrum CBD oil at InfoWarsStore.com. So get it. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, Silver Bullet, colloidal silver, 30 parts per million, Rebels in and more, InfoWarsStore.com. Roger Stone's got huge news coming up. We're going to air a little compilation, the short segment coming up, of just some of the Democrats challenging elections. They're allowed to do it. Republicans get indicted for it. Total election meddling and a coup. We'll be right back with hour number 3.
Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual.
You need to go to InfoWarsStore.com because these are amazing products. So we have super high quality colloidal silver sold out for 3+ years, 300 parts per million, Silver Bullet, now back in stock, InfoWarsStore.com. We have Nitric Boost that cleans out your blood, discounted InfoWarsStore.com. We have the great CBD oil, full spectrum, highest quality for half the price that the same thing is sold in stores for. We private label it. Third parties have tested it. They say it's the highest rated out there. They're like, wow, this is really great. The lowest price we've seen. Yeah, it's amazing for your neurological systems, your joints, your bones, everything. Get our full spectrum CBD oil, InfoWarsStore.com. And there's a few signed copies left of my book, The Great Reset and the War for the World, at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank you all for your support. But whatever you do, spread the word about the broadcast. We'll be right back.
This is fame, not clout. I don't even know what that's about. Watch your mouth. Baby.
If I was the deep state and I wanted to destroy America, I would rig the election with a puppet candidate. One that was so compromised that they would never say a word about it. I would create a false flag that allows for mail-in ballots. I would be in charge of the ballot counting machines. I would create a false flag to blame all who question the results of the election. If I was the deep state, I would prosecute anyone that went against me. I would sue and prosecute anyone that spoke up about the fraudulent election. I would use my powers to shut down all your internet businesses and bankrupt you. If I was the deep state, I would make everyone an example why you should never question a Democrat ever winning an election. I would imprison my foes. I would use my corrupt DAs and blackmail judges to destroy you. I would make sure all crimes I ever committed never happened. I would prosecute my biggest competition. I would make sure they could never run for office ever again.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes.
So that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president. So of course he's obsessed with me. And I believe that it's a guilty conscience.
We actually won the last presidential election, folks. They stole the last presidential election.
And Al Gore won that election. I think he won it anyway.
Actually, I think I carried Florida.
Bush versus Gore. A court took away a presidency.
If all the votes were counted in Florida, that Al Gore would be president today and George Bush would be back in office.
I come
I'm from Florida, where you and others participated in what I call the United States coup d'etat.
There's no doubt in my mind that Al Gore was elected president.
I rise to object to the fraudulent 25 Florida electoral votes.
I must object because of the overwhelming evidence of official misconduct, deliberate fraud, and an attempt to suppress voter turnout.
It is signed by myself on behalf of my diverse constituents and the millions of Americans who have been disenfranchised by Florida's inaccurate vote count.
The Supreme Court, not the people of the United States, decided this election.
Speaking to a Democratic group in Chicago Tuesday, he made it clear he thinks Al Gore was the winner.
By the time it was over, our candidate had won the popular vote, and the only way they could win the election was to stop the voting in Florida.
Catherine Harris, Jeb Bush, Jim Baker, and the Supreme Court hadn't tampered with the results, Al Gore would be president.
The Supreme Court selected George W. Bush as the president. He was not elected.
There is overwhelming evidence that George W. Bush did not win this election.
What I observed as a voter, as a citizen of Illinois 4 years ago, were troubling evidence of the fact that not every vote was being counted.
I don't think that George W. Bush won the election in 2000 against Al Gore, because I think he probably lost Florida and also that nationwide.
Without voter suppression, Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia. Andrew Gillum is the governor of Florida.
You refused to concede and say that you lost. Do you stand by that decision today? Absolutely. The election was not fair. The process was not fair.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear.
I think that Stacey Abrams' election is being stolen from her.
It was not a free and fair election.
Brian Kemp stole the gubernatorial election from Georgians and Stacey Abrams.
But will I say that this election was not tainted, was not a disinvestment and a disenfranchisement of thousands of voters? I will not say that.
We've got Roger Stone joining us at the bottom of the hour to respond to the Trump indictment. And a lot of the stuff that Alex has already covered today, I was going to talk about, so I won't be redundant here, with the Bidenomics that have totally failed, with the situation that Trump is going to be facing in these latest indictments, with the 4 counts that is really just a punishment for his free speech. And of course, the double standard couldn't be more obvious. We just played for you a 4-minute video put together today by Darren McBreen of Democrats rejecting, denying election results. I've got another 10-minute video of the same content, 10 minutes of Democrats denying and fighting the results. And there's more out there too. There's more out there. You could play it all day long. So here's really the conundrum we are facing that couldn't be more obvious now. There is a ruling class. There is a ruling class. There is a political elite in this country. The rules are different for them. The standards are different for them. And whenever you or we the people, let's say, whenever we the people decide, hey, you know what, we don't like how things are going in D.C., we need to take things a different direction, they remind you, not so subtly, you don't get to do that. Oh, you want Donald Trump for president? No, you don't. Now we're going to arrest him. Of course, the Democrats have rejected every presidential election that they've lost in the 21st century. And now they're indicting Trump when Trump actually has the evidence. Trump, it's actually obvious. 40, 50,000 people at a rally for Trump. Joe Biden gets 10 for an entire election cycle. When the numbers all panned out, Donald Trump had more than 3 million people attending his rallies. More than 3 million people. Joe Biden had about 30,000. Overall, all rallies combined, 3 million plus to 30,000. We've got the graphs from election night that are just the live election trackers where Joe Biden gets the vote Viagra. I did a whole tour Me and the crew went on a tour. It was like an 18-city tour in the InfoWars battle tank. And I had 6 of these graphs, just like this, that showed how in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, Trump is winning all day long. And then right at 3 o'clock in the morning, Joe Biden gets the vote Viagra and it goes straight up. Guys, .cam this, because a lot of people probably haven't seen this. A lot of people in the audience today are probably new. A lot of people that are monitoring the news today maybe weren't as hyper vigilant back in 2020 when this happened. Here's your vote Viagra. Straight up. They don't even hide it from you. Straight up. And that happened in 5 different states. And it was the 5 states that ultimately swung the election. And it was the 5 cities in those 5 states where they boarded up the poll watching areas, where they lied about a water main break, where they had witness testimony saying that they were fake mail-in ballots that were being counted, when they were pulling out huge bins of ballots from under the table and counting them all for Joe Biden, when delivery trucks are backing into the polling station at 3 in the morning, delivering entire pallet loads of ballots for Joe Biden. We watched all of it. Never before seen, couldn't be more obvious, utterly ridiculous, total corruption. Imagine if the Democrats had any evidence like that when they denied that Bush won twice. Imagine if Democrats had any evidence like that when they denied that Trump won in 2016. Can you imagine? Do you think they would have rallied? Do you think they would have rioted? But what's the ultimate? What's the ultimate realization? What is the ultimate most dangerous thing to say right now? Of course, they're scared of Donald Trump. I mean, you can see it when Jack Smith gets up there and talks. He looks like a frightened little chicken. He looks like a frightened little chicken shit. Because his masters, his controllers are making him do all this for whatever reason. Maybe he's blackmailed. Maybe he's in on it. Maybe he really is just a radical leftist. With his wife, who donates to Joe Biden, works for Barack Obama. Yeah, that's his wife. He shouldn't have any bias, though, right? No reason to recuse himself. No, folks. For the first time ever in my life and your life, most likely, American patriots who understand the corruption in D.C. more than ever, are fed up with it more than ever, our way of life, our prosperity, our future slipping out of our hands. And if we don't even have legitimate elections to try to get it back in the right direction, then we have nothing. Because the same people that steal elections are the same people that censor your free speech and now want to criminalize it. The same people that steal elections are the same people that want to take your firearms. The same people that steal elections are the same people that want to take your household appliances, your gas-powered vehicles. It's the same people. And the fact that we had more than 1 million people in Washington, D.C., that's what freaks them out the most. That's what scares them the most. They need to make sure that we, the people of this country, can never organize, never activate, never coalesce, and certainly never come together as a group of 1 million plus. Look at how fearful they are of your peaceful First Amendment activity. That's what this is all about. Sure, they don't want Donald Trump in there, but even Donald Trump can be coerced. Even Donald Trump can be tricked. We saw that. Maybe he's learned his lesson. No. 1.5 million people in Washington, D.C., waving American flags, chanting USA, caring about this country. That is the ultimate crime. And the fact that Donald Trump would have led that movement means he must ceremoniously have his head chopped off and held above for all to see by the deep state. But I got to give it to Donald Trump. He made this statement last night after the indictment news dropped.
Dark place right now. But even after everything the deep state has done to me, I will never give up on America. Mark my words. In 2024, we will win back the White House. We will make America great again. I have no doubt about it. They come at me from left. They come at me from right. The rhinos, the communists, the Marxists, the fascists. We will not only survive, we will be stronger than ever before. We're fighting a fight like nobody ever thought possible, and we're winning. We won in 2016. We had a rigged election in 2020, but got more votes than any sitting president. We're going to win like never before, and we're going to make America great again. I can truly say, I believe, better than ever before. Thank you for all of your support and for all of your prayers.
Yep, you got my support, Donald Trump. Abso-frickin-lutely. And a lot of people probably can't even comprehend the epicness of that 60-second message from Donald Trump. But we at InfoWars can, because we've already been through it. And I can tell you what they're most likely going to do to Trump in his 3 court cases next year as well. All right, I'm going to tell you why that Trump statement is so epic and why it has me so fired up today. Despite the darkness we're going through, makes me want to charge through it even more hardcore. And I'm also going to tell you most likely what's going to happen to Donald Trump. As of right now, he's going to be in court with the 3 different indictments. 2 of the dates have already been set, so it looks like he's going to be in court twice in the spring and once in the summer. This is all during the election year when he should be campaigning. And he will be, and he'll be getting 30,000, 40,000 people at each rally, and then Joe Biden or whoever the Democrat nominee is might get a couple hundred. And then they'll magically get 90 million votes or whatever Trump got plus 1 million. So I'm going to explain all that. But there's been a revelation in one of the Hunter Biden cases that with the confusion, why did Hunter Biden or why did his attorneys believe that the FARA investigation that Hunter Biden is under, illegally acting as a foreign agent, not registered, Joe Biden as well. And so, see, but this is why it's important, because once you get down to where the money was going from Hunter Biden, it was going to Joe Biden. And then if you get Joe Biden, well, then you got Barack Obama. And that's the darling of the Democrat Party, so that's a big problem. So a lot of this protection of Biden is really protection of Obama. So if you're a little confused, why would they protect Biden so much? How could he have so much pull? Well, it's to protect Obama. Obama's the one running Biden. Obama's the one that greenlit Biden to do all this and knew it was going on, not to mention Spygate, but that's a separate story. So there's a paragraph, it just hit the docket in Delaware, that basically part of the plea said from the Department of Justice that this plea agreement, there was confusion in the original, this plea agreement was supposed to give him immunity on future charges. Now they've filed a new plea, I suppose, where they're not going to give him those future protections. But basically, that was the DOJ working with the Biden legal team to say, we're going to pardon you, essentially. We're going to make sure that whatever is revealed in the FARA investigation, you won't be charged for it. I mean, that's essentially the DOJ, Merrick Garland, acting as the president, giving a pardon to Hunter Biden when the case wasn't even concluded yet. And the judge saw it and said, what the hell? What? I can't, no, I'm not signing off on this. Now, as it has been now for the 3rd time, a big break in the Biden crime family investigation. Next day, Trump gets indicted. So there might be 2 more of these phenomenons before this year even concludes. How many court cases is Trump going to have to be in court to defend himself with next year? Why did that statement from Donald Trump get me fired up? And maybe I should play it one more time. In fact, let's just play it one more time. Why does this statement from Donald Trump last night after the indictment, why does this statement have me fired up?
Country is in a very dark place right now. But even after everything the deep state has done to me, I will never give up on America. Mark my words. In 2024, we will win back the White House. We will make America great again. I have no doubt about it. They come at me from left. They come at me from right. The rhinos, the communists, the Marxists, the fascists. We will not only survive, we will be stronger than ever before. We're fighting a fight like nobody ever thought possible, and we're winning. We won in 2016. We had a rigged election in 2020, but got more votes than any sitting president. We're going to win like never before, and we're going to make America great again. I can truly say, I believe, better than ever before. Thank you for all of your support and for all of your prayers.
Why does that statement have me so fired up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you from experience, psychologically, mentally, the toughest part of going through lawfare persecution like this that Donald Trump is going through is normally the first 24 hours. And it's very deflating. And, you know, I mean, we could sit here and we could flex nuts all day and say, you know, if you've never been indicted or arrested or jailed or brought into court by these people, the enemies of America that run this country, then you aren't really in the fight. You're not really doing jack crap. But that's not even what this is about. We've been there. So for Donald Trump to come out and make that statement with the confidence and the positivity is so huge. I mean, this guy really does mean business. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying his first presidency was perfect, but they clearly do not want this guy back in the White House. And Donald Trump is really putting it all on the line because he cares about this country. And maybe it's for his own family too. Because he knows he's got grandkids that the country they're going to grow up in is going to be run by these screwball leftists, and it's going to become a hellhole. But when I saw that, I said, damn, Donald Trump is the real deal. And I've already felt that way many times. It just reaffirmed it. And it just made me proud. I'm not going to lie. It made me proud. Because I understand why people have given up. I understand why people think Trump has controlled opposition. And at that point, you just really don't believe in anything. You kind of become a political nihilist. And I get it. I get it. But see, I know I'm real. I know that the people that work here are real. I know that the people I meet when I go to events are real. I know Roger Stone is real. So there are good people that care about this country that are putting it all on the line. I know that. And I believe Donald Trump is one of them. And when you see what he goes through and still he rises up and says, I believe in you. I believe in this country. I'm never going to give up. That is about as badass as it gets. Now, this judge is an Obama appointee. This is the judge that Trump is going to have in these cases. So again, I've been through this. Alex has been through this. So we've got a little idea here. She's from Kingston, Jamaica. Appointed by Barack Obama. I'm sure this isn't an affirmative action appointee, though. Of course not. Not Tanya S. Chutkin. People are fired up today, and I'm seeing this all over the news, specifically conservative media, that are saying when Trump gets into the courtroom, he's going to have discovery and subpoena power. And so the questions that he has about the election that they want to say is criminal for him to say, he could subpoena and get discovery and maybe get some answers. Huh. That's funny that you believe that, because that's what would happen if it wasn't a rigged case. But let me tell you exactly what Judge Chutkin is going to do. Just like what happened to Alex Jones. Donald Trump won't be allowed discovery. Donald Trump won't be allowed subpoena power. Donald Trump won't be allowed to present evidence. Donald Trump won't be allowed to show you pictures of graphs from that night with Biden getting the vote Viagra. Donald Trump won't be able to show clips from 3,000 Mules, the documentary about the Biden vote mules. I mean, so, but it's going to be a process, and it's going to be a good thing, because all these true believers that still think, hey, we still live in America, we still have a system, it's not totally corrupt, they're all going to watch how corrupt it really is. They can't believe it. They haven't been following it at the front lines like we have, but now they're all going to get a nice big clue. Stuff is now breaking every hour on the hour. Tucker Carlson had a sit-down interview with Devin Archer that he has just posted. Tucker Carlson on Twitter. Wow. And then there's also some news out of Ukraine. That's not the focus of today, but the journalist over there that has been reporting the truth about what's going on from the ground, the Kiev regime, Zelensky, has made sure to capture him, arrest him, and shut him up. That freedom-loving Zelensky. Amazing stuff. We're about to be joined by Roger Stone. It's great to be here on air with you today. And ladies and gentlemen, Vitamin Mineral Fusion, one of the most popular products at InfoWarsStore.com, one of my favorite products. I start every day with Vitamin Mineral Fusion, is back in stock and 25% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. And it's your support there that keeps us on the air. But folks, Vitamin Mineral Fusion sells out a lot. Sells out fast. So get your hands on it while the sale is live and while supplies last. All right. Well, this is great. 2 days in a row now, I've been privileged to have a conversation with Roger Stone right here on the InfoWars airwaves. Now, Roger, last time we spoke, the latest indictment for Trump has not been filed. So it's a totally different world now, you might say. Now, have you heard, I'm just curious, did you hear President Trump's statement that he released last night, the video message that he released last night? Have you heard this yet?
I read a transcript of his remarks. I haven't seen a video. But actually, Owen, I think if you go back to the show we did last night, I predicted that we would be at this exact moment. In other words, we're, in an information war. And therefore, it became essential for the cabal, for the deep state Democrat media cabal, to blot out coverage of the epic corruption of the Biden crime family and the fact that we now have hard evidence of extortion, bribery, money laundering, influence peddling, illegal lobbying, and let's just say it, treason by Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and other august members of the Biden crime family. So they must immediately cue the indictments. I actually think it's possible, Owen, that the special counsel here has moved a little more quickly than he had planned, but that's because the House Republicans were able to expose as much as they have been able to expose, and God forbid that story lead the news. So what is the answer? The answer is to move very quickly on Donald Trump. Why? Well, because he's leading Joe Biden in the polls, because he's going to lengthen his lead against him in the polls. They have hit the panic button, and now they've completely weaponized the system, and they have triggered that weaponization. Let me put it another way. Questioning the outcome of an election, questioning the integrity of an election is a crime for which you should actually go to prison, unless, of course, you're Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or Jerry Nadler or Stacey Abrams or Jamie Raskin, in which case it's perfectly all right.
And you could go on for days with that list. Barbara Boxer, Kamala Harris. I mean, we could play this game all day long. But, you know, the judge in this case from Kingston, Jamaica, Tanya Chutkin, appointed by Barack Obama. I think we can all be confident, though, that this is not an affirmative action hire. I think we can all be confident here that this woman is not going to take into that courtroom any anti-white bigotry that she might have to get justice for her ancestors with that rich white man in her courtroom. I think we can all rest easy, Roger, knowing that's certainly not a potential here.
Well, she's a major donor to Barack Obama. She's husband, both major donors, and her mother-in-law, all major donors to Barack Obama.
Must be nice. Must be nice, Roger. Oh, make some donations, get the judge position, huh?
She and her husband's also appointed a federal judge by President Barack Obama. And of course, she worked in the same law firm as that Hunter Biden was associated with. But there's no political bias here. Look, I don't think it really mattered in D.C. I can't think of any member of the judiciary there that would be insulated from politics. But this judge has been particularly harsh on January 6th victims, has been particularly harsh on those charged with crimes in connection with January 6th, actually handing out sentences that were over and above those requested by prosecutors.
Which is almost never the case.
Very, very rarely the case. Look, this is a kill zone. I think we understand that. I don't think any Republican, let's put it another way, any non-Democrat, any non-liberal can get a fair trial in the District of Columbia. I think, and I'm not an attorney, and I say that right up front, but attorneys that I have talked to about these charges tell me that they believe that they are fatally flawed, that they're a stretch. That doesn't mean, unfortunately, that even if they put on the greatest defense in the world, and that's questionable at this point, and even if they relitigate whether the election was or was not stolen, which would take both a huge amount of time and a huge amount of money, the goal here is to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. If in the end some unjust conviction in the District of Columbia were to be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court, but in the meantime, because of the timing of the trial and the dynamics of the election season, they were able to deny him returning to the White House, they will have achieved their goal. Now, if they can send him to prison for 600 years to serve as a lesson to anyone who might seek of challenging the broken two-party duopoly that is busy destroying our constitutional republic, then that would be good for them too.
I mean, they must be really scared of him. 600 years, Roger. For 600 years, this is like some sort of a mythical dragon that they have to use a spell to put away because they're so scared of this man.
Well, I was kind of intrigued by the comments last night from the president's lawyer, John Lauro, who is correct when he said that, look, when we tried to litigate the last election, when we tried to present evidence of election fraud, when we tried to make our case, the fundamental problem was that no court would ever hear it. Now, the left-wing mainstream jackals in the fake news media would try to imply, well, the judges, the courts rejected your arguments. No, that's actually not true. It's not that they rejected the arguments, it's that they never would agree to hear the arguments. There's a case going on right now in Pennsylvania where, frankly, the Pennsylvania establishment, which I think did preside over a deeply flawed and I think corrupted election, is actually in retreat because Greg Stenstrom and Leah Hoops, two patriots there, who are representing themselves, by the way, really are exposing the enormous fraud and, in fact, corruption of the entire system. So using that example, that case in Pennsylvania as a template, I do think it's possible here that the president and his lawyers and his supporters may have a chance, a canvas, as it were, to lay out the whole broader question of election fraud, something they never really had an opportunity to do previously.
I agree that window is there, but and this comes from experience watching what they did to Alex Jones, I believe they'll shut that window, they'll lock that door, they'll make sure that nobody gets access to it. Trump can play the video clips of the Democrats denying elections. He can play the vote Viagra for Biden, 300,000 votes in the middle of the night, and they'll just say, nope, nope, reject, nope, you can't show that, nope, reject, nope, jury can't see that. That's what I think is going to happen, Roger.
Well, that's entirely possible. Remember, prior to my trial, the judge ruled, based on a motion by the prosecutors, that we don't have to prove that there was any Russian collusion. Well, then what was it that I theoretically lied about? In other words, in order to violate the False Statements Act, your false statement has to be both willful and material. If I had no motive to lie, because there is no Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration to lie about.
That's Roger Stone. We'll be right back.
The country is in a very dark place right now. But even after everything the deep state has done to me, I will never give up on America. Mark my words. In 2024, we will win back the White House. We will make America great again. I have no doubt about it. They come at me from left. They come at me from right. The rhinos, the communists, the Marxists, the fascists. We will not only survive, we will be stronger than ever before. We're fighting a fight like nobody ever thought possible, and we're winning. We won in 2016. We had a rigged election in 2020, but got more votes than any sitting president. We're going to win like never before, and we're going to make America great again. I can truly say, I believe, better than ever before. Thank you for all of your support and for all of your prayers.
Now, I want to tell you why that short message from Donald Trump was so inspirational for me, because I've personally seen what Alex Jones has gone through and kept fighting. I've personally seen what Roger Stone has gone through and kept fighting. And I'm seeing what Donald Trump is now going through and keep fighting. So it motivates me. And we're all going through it together, folks. We're all going to go through this. Freedom is worth fighting for. That's why people fought and died for it and still do every day. So, Roger, I wanted to replay that for you just because, not to give you a little ego boost here, but I mean, really, I've seen men go through it and keep fighting every day, and it inspires me. And to see that response from Donald Trump, Roger, just charged my batteries, man.
Well, Owen, remember the famous statement by President Richard Nixon, who said, "The greatness comes not when things go always good for you, but when you take some knocks, you suffer some defeats, some setbacks, when sadness comes." Because until one has been in the deepest valley, one cannot appreciate the majesty of the highest mountaintop. A man is not defeated. A man is not finished when he's defeated. He's only finished when he quits. I think this is true of Alex Jones, who is above all a warrior and a winner. It is true of you and everything they have put you through. Yes, I think it's true of me. I have been sustained by my faith in Jesus Christ and the support of tens of thousands of Americans, including many, many info warriors in the 2.5 years of hell that my family and I went through. Jones has been subjected to the same kind of persecution and abuse. But you may be, at the end of the day, materially poorer, but you are spiritually much richer. You're experiencing this now yourself, but I guarantee you the Lord will lift you up, the Lord will preserve you, the Lord will save you. And this past Sunday in church, we focused on Psalm 110. 110 tells you essentially that although things look very, very dark right now, God never loses. Good never loses to evil in the end. And you just have to keep that faith.
And now we also have Dr. Mercola had his bank accounts taken down a couple weeks ago after going on the Alex Jones show. I'm talking to Dr. Ben Marble, who does My Free Doctor, and now his bank accounts are under assault. So, I mean, this is happening to everybody. I mean, Clay Clark, the Reawaken America tour. I mean, I can go on and on, but that you just said it. It's about not giving up. It's about never quitting, and it's about understanding what the prize is. The prize is freedom. The prize is prosperity. The prize is all the stuff that we know is good from the past that we can improve upon in the future. Instead of this, I mean, Roger, here's what I'm going through too. And I wonder what the people you talk to think. Because when I see people, the kind of mainstream conservative going on Fox News saying, oh, this is going to be great, they're going to have discovery, and now Trump can get behind all the election fraud that they wouldn't look at before. And I think, I'm sorry, but you're naive. They're going to reject all of it. But this is a good thing, because now they're going to understand how corrupt it is. Now they're going to see that all the stuff that they believe still existed, was still pure and clean in America, is not there, including the elections. I mean, this is going to be a major awakening process. I mean, 2024, the next 16 months, Roger, I mean, this is going to be a major awakening process. And I think the hurdle people are going to realize is like, this is beyond politics. Somebody like Jack Smith doesn't go up there looking like chicken spit just because of politics. There's something much more dark and twisted behind this.
Well, I just think watch over the next couple of days, because this, what you say, will be borne out. Trump is going to lengthen his lead over Biden in the polls. He's actually going to go up despite this vile attack on him. And he's going to take in tens of millions of new contributions from small and medium-sized donors, just mom and pop America, just average citizens who see through this entire fraud. So that which does not kill him actually ends up making him stronger. If anyone has any illusions about the injustice, about the two-tier justice, then I think that will very shortly be erased. It is absolutely clear that if you're Hunter Biden, you can pocket millions of dollars, you can lobby without registering as required by law, you can lie about all of it, you can own a firearm while you're on drugs.
Sell drugs in the White House? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we don't know that.
No, but it only took us 3 days to open and close the investigation. A case closed. It's just like the death of the Obama's chef. I mean, I've been investigating this very carefully. They say, well, he drowned in 100 feet. He was 100 feet offshore in 8 feet of water. Well, I've done all the barometric charts. I'm sorry, 100 feet off the water, off the shore, it's 3 feet deep of water. Who drowns in water that you can stand up and would be not even up to your chest? This is an absurdity. But that probe has been closed by the Massachusetts State Police. Done. Oh, we can't disclose who was with this poor chef when he drowned. We can't disclose who phoned in the distress call to the Edgartown police. We can't tell you where that phone call came from. But there's nothing to see here. Look over there, Donald Trump. He disputed an election. He must be put in prison immediately. It's extraordinary.
Well, and now you were the one, I believe, saying it first, Michelle Obama is going to be the Democrat nominee. It wasn't my opinion, but I'm a smart bettor. I go where the good leads lead me. And if Roger Stone is leading me somewhere, that's where I'm placing my money. But interestingly enough, the response from the public was kind of, oh, look, this is Obama, if you're being conspiratorial, closing up some loose ends. What did the chef know? Whatever. They are thinking that is a sign Michelle Obama is running. And so since this news and your investigation continues, where are you at with the Michelle Obama is running meter?
Well, it depends on whether this cover-up of what actually happened in Martha's Vineyard holds. I mean, it seems to me the media is off of this. They have done their cover-up. Everybody's just kind of accepting their narrative. I still think that when it comes to the end of the year and the actual filing deadlines for the various Democratic primaries and caucuses, that Joe Biden is not going to be electable, that the Democratic power structure that is led by Barack Obama recognizes that, and I still believe that they will switch him out for the strongest possible potential candidate that they could name. That would be Michelle Obama. They cannot go to Kamala Harris. They know that even though she doesn't have dementia, she makes even less sense than Joe Biden, if such a thing is possible. So she's not electable. And Gavin Newsom, we can't nominate some white guy, some middle-aged white guy, not within the modern Democratic Party. So I'm sticking with my prediction that at the end of the day, the Democratic candidate will be Michelle Obama. Now, I need to confer with my good friend Joel Gilbert, the documentary filmmaker who's written both a book and made a documentary on this subject, but I doubt that he's changed his mind either.
Roger, in the last 90 seconds here, do you believe the Republican Party, the RNC, Ronna McDaniel, Donald Trump's team, do you believe they've done enough to push back, equalize all the ballot harvesting, early voting measures that the Democrats usually use to their advantage? Do you think the proper response has been made there? You're grinning.
Not even remotely. Ballot harvesting is one tiny element of a robust effort to ensure that we have a free, fair, and honest election. This is not something you can do in 1 minute and 10 seconds, but we need a much more aggressive legal and technical approach to the entire question. There is technology out there There are some legal reforms that can still be made. There's a lot that has to be done. But I do know this. If we have a free, fair, honest election, Donald Trump will win literally by a landslide.
Yeah, at this point, 80 million votes. But, it'll be nice, whoever the Democrat Party is. Trump will get 80 million votes. The Democrat candidate will get 80,000,001 votes, Roger. That's probably, and then there's, nothing to see here. It's totally normal. It's all good. Roger Stone, about as cool as they come. StoneZone.com is where you can find the show. Roger, good to talk to you again.
Thank you, Owen. God bless you.
All right. Now, when we come back, we got a short video in this segment, and then we're going to be joined by Patrick Byrne and get his response to all this, what he's hearing, boots on the ground, another great American that cares about the future of this country. Final hour of the Alex Jones Show next.
When it comes to regaining energy, convenience is key. Sure, coffee, candy, and other highly sugar-filled products can give us a short boost, but the crash is always the strongest downside. That's why our team of scientists worked with the InfoWars crew to create a powerhouse mixable energy formula. Having TurboForce Plus at work, home, in the car, or in your bag is the ultimate answer to a sluggish day.
Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, is becoming the number 2 option in the Republican Party. I think eventually, consistently, will be passing DeSantis in the polls. Here was his statement last night in response to the Trump indictment.
It's another sad moment in our country's history. The 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, has yet again been indicted by the Biden DOJ, a political party in power that is now repeatedly using police force to indict and arrest and potentially eliminate its political opponents from competition. This is a politicized prosecution. It is a political persecution through prosecution, now in a third indictment just in a matter of months against the person who is still at present the lead contender in the Republican primary for U.S. president. I want to be very clear. I am running for U.S. president in that same Republican primary. It would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition. That's not how I want to win. This is not about politics to me. This is about first principles. We do not want to become a country where the party in power is able to use banana republic-like tactics to eliminate its political opponents. Yet I'm sad to say that's exactly where we are. The allegations in this indictment fall flat. It is wrong and incorrect and inaccurate to place blame for what happened on January 6th at the feet of Donald Trump. I said this at the time. I've said it ever since then. I continue to say it today. I would not have made the same judgments that Donald Trump did in how he handled that day. But that's different from saying that he committed a crime. He did not. He specifically told the protesters that day to behave peacefully. The First Amendment in this country gives political protesters the ability to express themselves and their opinions freely. Donald Trump was not responsible for what happened on January 6th. You want to know what was responsible? I said this in the days after January 6, 2021, just as I say it today. Systematic, pervasive censorship in this country. That was after a year where we had told people across this nation that you had to stay locked down in your house, in your basement, and shut up, sit down, do as you're told. If you question that, you're racist, you're anti-science. Your social media accounts were silenced. You had to stay home and lock down unless you were part of BLM or Antifa, in which case it was perfectly fine to roam the streets of this country and burn many of them down. That was the double standard that then applied and said that if you said the virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, you were again a racist and had your internet accounts shut down. You were then told you had an election where you could express yourself to put the right person in charge of fixing these problems, and instead, your accounts were suppressed if you sent a mere message saying that the Hunter Biden laptop story from the New York Post was real. You had your accounts locked. Even the New York Post had its own account locked. And if you repeatedly then tell people they cannot speak, that is when they scream. If you repeatedly tell people they cannot scream, that is when they tear things down. And I think we are making a grave mistake in this country by trying to pin the blame for that at the feet of one man. If we refuse to learn our mistakes from our mistakes in the past, we are doomed to suffer an even worse fate in the future. I worry that will create a country where January 6, 2021 was a friendly parlay compared to what's actually to come. I'm running for president to make sure we don't march towards some kind of national divorce. But the first and most important step that we as candidates can take in this race is to speak and speak forcefully on the side of principle, to say that even if we're competing against Donald Trump, as I am, I do not want to see him eliminated from competition using these politicized tactics.
Why hasn't Ron DeSantis made or released a statement similar to that when it would only help him in the polls? Because Ron DeSantis is controlled by the Republican Party establishment. He's in there to get Donald Trump out of their way. And he might be a good guy. He might have even at one point been a great presidential candidate. But you're not going to see a statement like that from Ron DeSantis because, well, the people that control him don't want to boost or uplift Donald Trump. They'd much rather see him go to jail. We're joined now by another great American, Patrick Byrne, on the air here. Last hour of the Alex Jones Show. And I mean, it's no surprise. We know how corrupt our country is. We know exactly what the deep state has in store for Donald Trump. And so this third indictment is no surprise right after, of course, the Devin Archer testimony. But your response, what you think this is about, where you think it's going, and just kind of your just guttural reaction to this as an American patriot, Patrick Byrne.
Owen, good to see you again, sir. First, it's odd for me because I'm actually a participant. I was in the room for some of the most important conversations. I saw on social media last night, people who've read the indictment are saying, holy cow, Byrne's testimony is right square in the middle of the case they're trying to make. So people have figured that out. And I know there was nothing inappropriate in anything I saw. Everyone conducted themselves. And I can recreate and have on your show the precise conversation. There was nothing inappropriate. What they're trying to do is A, provoke a reaction. B, I think that they're doing this out of weakness, not out of strength. I think that they're really walled in and trying to provoke a reaction. They're not going to get this tried before the election. So, and the real mistake they're making is now that he's been accused of this, he has subpoena power. He can subpoena witnesses. He can subpoena everything about the election that we've been fighting to get for 2 years and been rebuffed. He can now, he's got, it's called a legal, he can compel testimony now because he's accused in a federal crime. So I think it's going to really backfire on the Democrats.
You know, and when I look at these potentials, I guess there's two kind of streams of thought right now. The one is that, like you just said, this is never even going to make it to trial by the election. And even if it does go through, he can just appeal it and the Supreme Court will eventually throw it out. Or, okay, we do go to trial and they decide to fight it there. He demands discovery. And then it's like you watch the judge say, nope, you're not allowed to subpoena. You're not allowed to have discovery. Oh, you play a video of Democrats denying an election? Strike it from the record. Oh, you show the images of the vote counts going straight up, 300,000 votes for Biden in the middle of the night? Strike it from the record. And he just won't be allowed to put any defense or legal argument up in the courtroom, and then they can witness that. It seems to me that those are kind of the thoughts of where this is going to go right now. But that's just one of his three cases.
Yeah, they're all ridiculous. The case, in Georgia, so Trump is not the most precise of speech. He's not a college professor. He's not a lawyer. In Georgia, there were two counties of over 300,000 each with ballots with no proper chain of custody. So 650,000 chains of ballots with no proper chain of custody. So Trump is saying to some guy down in Georgia, hey, I only lost by 13,000 votes. Surely you can find 13,000 votes. What he means by that is clearly there are at least 650,000 votes that should be disqualified. And that's just the beginning. Georgia was the biggest shit show. They have found all kinds of fraud since then. They should have disqualified hundreds of thousands, if not a million votes or more. And so all he's saying is, he's not saying, so all he's saying is, surely if I'm behind by 10,500, why don't you disqualify some of these hundreds of thousands of fake ballots and see if I'm really still behind? He's not the most precise speaker. There's nothing about overturning an election, about asking, even the strategy that the Democrats followed in January 6, 2016. Jamie Raskin, a whole bunch of them stood up in the House and objected to the recognition of electors. So it was the exact same strategy that Trump was going for on January 6th.
The Democrats have denied every presidential election result they've lost in the 21st century. They make arguments in front of Congress. And we got hours of tape of them rejecting electoral votes. Barbara Boxer, 2004, hilarious out there demanding John Kerry won. Do they assume the American people are too ignorant? Do they just think, is it that? What is it? Is it a thing where they just believe we're so ignorant? Or do they really think we don't care, we own you now?
They think they think that Americans are so ignorant, and they're largely right. Americans have no memory, seem to have no memory, and just are able to be psyoped by transparent little schemes like that. They also, I think that they're over their chortling phase. There was a phase where they were chortling because they were saying, we own you now, we're just going to inflame you. They're not chortling now. They know that they're in a fight here. They know that they've got a real problem. But I think that they're getting a bit punch drunk, frankly. So I think that they're desperate. I think that this is an act of desperation. But we're going to defeat it. I know that my testimony can defeat absolutely a bunch of the indictment. I know from personal experience, and I'm not in the least afraid, come what may, to stand up in a courtroom and say exactly what was said in the Oval Office and so on and so forth. And I'm a witness. Trump, I've said this before, I'll repeat it on your show, Owen. Trump leaned over a couple times and again in a doorway where he said to me, Pat, I have no problem leaving here. If I didn't win this on January 20th, you see that place on that lawn, Pat, Marine One's going to land right over there. I got no problem walking away. My life's going to get a lot better, Pat, believe me. I will never spend a day in this city again. I've got my golf courses, I've got my friends. But how can I do that if I think if this has been rigged and I think another country's involved? Can I really just surrender like that? There was absolutely nothing inappropriate. He was not at all some power-drunk tyrant clutching at power. I think he was half or more than half quite happy to be on his way out of Washington, D.C. So there was nothing. They can't get him for anything on any of that. So what are they going to try to get him for on January 6th? Because he said walk peacefully and patriotically down to the Capitol? That was an incitement to insurrection. It all sounds really stretched. And
By
then
the
the
way,
document. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, in the indictment, they actually have the tweets are actually in the indictment, and then quotes of Trump's speech are in the indictment. And I mean, folks, literally, they show you the tweet where he says peacefully, patriotically. They show you the tweet where he says respect law enforcement, even the one where it says go home peacefully. And they put that in the indictment, and then they say, see, he was causing civil unrest, and it says peace in the thing. I mean, what?
What I learn is people are very suggestible. Humans are very suggestible. These people know that they can, doesn't matter what the meat of the matter is, they can dress it up and just repeat, and get people to think things. And people are very suggestible. It's really been quite a discovery how suggestible people are.
Well, if you want, I mean, I'm not asking you to say anything that you might want to withhold for a courtroom, but I mean, generally, what was Trump's attitude like when this was all going on? Because when I saw his statement that he released last night in response to the indictment, it charged me up. I'm like, we got people that care about this country, man. We got real people, real Americans that care about this country. And despite everything they're going through, they're still fighting. Was it the similar attitude, similar energy that day in the White House?
Actually, I wouldn't call it that way. I would call it, he seemed like a defeated man. He was surrounded by a bunch of minions who were telling him he was defeated and not to listen to anybody else or any of these other stories. And they'd been since November 4th in the mode of trying to tell him, don't fight anything, don't fight, just lie back and think of England. Just let this happen, you lost, just don't fight anything. And he was going around trying to get people to help him. And most of the people he was relying on were just weak reads who weren't really doing anything. Now, down below, he had a bunch of supporters among his staff who wanted to help, but they were actually getting told by their seniors, don't help Trump, just get him in the motive, we're going to get you out of here. That's the mood he was in. And I showed up on December 18th. That's the mood he was in, but also on the plan of Rudy Giuliani, which was the Green Bay sweep, which we're just going to fight on January 6th. We're going to get enough senators and members of the House to object to electoral votes from 6 states. That we're going to get it sent back to the states, have those people take a week, recommit their electoral votes, and come back. That's the Green Bay sweep program. Didn't sound, I suppose, too promising, but that's all Trump had. So Trump was of the opinion that he had lost in all other things, but he was hanging from that weak read. We sneak into the Oval Office on December 18th. I won't repeat how, but we got into the Oval Office without an appointment and ended up sitting with the president for 4 hours. And we had him sold on, well, sold is a big word, but we presented a plan that said, sir.
All right, I'm hanging on in anticipation during this break. Back here live on the Alex Jones Show. Owen Schroyer filling in here. 4th hour. Patrick Byrne is my guest. We were interrupted by the break, but you were getting into the attitude, the approach of Donald Trump when you saw him in the White House, and then how there was kind of a front line of people saying, oh, just give up, it's over, you lost. But they were kind of a wall holding back his supporters saying, no, we're not done here. And then he was relying on the kind of January 6th with Mike Pence saying, hey, let's investigate this further, that obviously ended up not happening.
Yes, that was the Green Bay sweep plan. But we walked in there on December 18th with an argument that he was not aware of. And the argument was, sir, you have the power to order some investigations. And this is based on something Barack Obama signed and you yourself signed, and which are orders that say if there's been federal interference in an election, the president can step in and order investigations and get to the bottom of it and rerun it, can do anything. And we're suggesting you just do a little bit, Mr. President. That's a quick investigation. And this is based on not theories of vote flipping from space, not theories of South Korean jets. This is based on what the federal government itself has said, sir, in the last 2 months. And I won't go through it all, but the DHS and FBI had made a number of statements about foreign attacks coming on our elections. Then on October 22nd, they were saying Iran is trying to hack our elections. On November 3rd, they said one of our 50 states has been hacked. Iran's doing other states, and other nations, hostile nations, have joined in. And then by the 6th and the 13th, they were admitted we were in the biggest hack of history. They announced on December 6th the biggest cybersecurity hack in history. That on the 13th, it was the SolarWinds hack, and everything in America got hacked. 425 out of 500 Fortune 500 companies. The CIA got hacked, the DOD, the NSA, the DHS, the CISA, the this, the that, the what, everything got hacked. Based on that, Mr. President, and based on what Barack Obama said, that if there's reasonable belief that the president can order a quick investigation, and we're asking to look in 6 places, and ultimately the conversation came down to a DHS team going into each of 6 counties, taking an image of the hard drive, going back and inspecting, seeing if there had been mischief. And I even told him, and so that doesn't seem so extreme to me. I don't know. We could have got it done in a few days. And I even told him, sir, the paperwork here says we'll take 2 weeks, but we'll have an answer to you in a week, and we think we'll have in a few days. We'll be knowing if we're going to find what we think we're going to find. And sir, if we don't find it, I think you're going to need to concede immediately. He cut me off. He said, Pat, you got no idea. You got no idea, believe me, how easy that's going to be for me to concede. You have no idea, Pat. I can walk right over I'll walk out of here proud of what I've done. I've got no problem doing that. But how can I do that if there's been I know this has been rigged, and if there's a foreign government involved, how can I do that? So that was perfectly appropriate. They can't get him for that. What happened, though, was after we left, after 4 hours, where we thought we had him reasonably on board, and I'll tell you what, the next morning we woke up with saying we got to even reduce it down to, we had given him options of 6, 13, or 31 counties. we in the morning were said, let's reduce it down to even one county. I think we got feedback saying, let's come up with a plan that's just a one county investigation. But what happened, unbeknownst to us, when we walked out at 12:50 at night, Rudy Giuliani got him turned around in 2 minutes and said, sir, Mr. President, if we go through with Burns' plan, we're all going to end up in prison. So they didn't do it. So Donald Trump, who'd been real low, and then we came in with our story and got him up for 4 hours. And then Rudy turns him around as soon as we leave and says, no, this is going to work. Drop it. He drops it. Donald Trump goes up to his bedroom. And an hour and 15 minutes later, he tweets out, hey, everybody come to D.C. on January 6th. It's going to be wild. Well, that's because he had just had this emotional roller coaster for 4 or 5 hours. He was now back on the Green Bay sweep plan. So that's how it all happened. What the prosecutors have tried to portray, or at least in the questioning, the narrative they tried to go with was that we had created some color revolution scheme and one in December 18th to brief him. And that's why, and taught him the color revolution. And that's why he went up at 1 o'clock in the morning and said, hey, everybody come to Washington because we're going to have a color revolution. That's how they're trying to connect it all. Unfortunately for them, I'm in the middle of it. They're going to have to impugn my testimony. Well, it's falling apart. They can't possibly. It's delusional. It's delusional.
All right, you get the frog out of your throat there. Yeah, get yourself a drink of water. I'm glad you're breaking that down for us. Okay, so let's assume, maybe not the best assumption to make, but let's assume that Trump gets a fair trial here. Let's say this goes to trial, and he starts subpoenaing, demanding discovery. He wants to know how Biden gets 300,000 votes in Detroit, in Philadelphia, the rest of the stuff that goes on, the Zuckerbucks, all of this stuff. What is the approach at that point? Because it sounds like you guys were already kind of laying the groundwork for that, but they abandoned that plan. So now we can maybe come back to it in a courtroom. Is it a similar strategy?
Yes. Well, it's kind of funny because we never really abandoned the plan. We've kept on going the last 2.5 years, and we've gotten stuff. We've gotten amazing. It's been slow because it was hook or by crook. But for example, just a week ago, we've been backing some guy, a very interesting guy from North Jersey, who uses Freedom of Information Act requests rather than using election law for citizens to audit, gives something the bad guys can bite into and fight us. And we've learned, for the first time in history, we've learned that we actually can't look at elections. We just got to trust them. Americans never knew this before. But this other fellow has been using Freedom of Information Act and citizens can get the right to inspect a bunch of things, and they can't stop that. He got the right to inspect ballots in Detroit that were recently examined by Eric Spakeen, who's a noted CEO of a forensic firm with 125 scientists. They've testified in 10,000 court cases. He's done 450. He's done election cases for 25 years. One of the nation's premier forensic scientists, CEO of his own firm, says he went up and validated this data and submitted a report last week. It turns out between 8 and 20% of the mail-in ballots are stuffed in Detroit. Between 8 and 20%. We're talking about an election Biden won by 0.2%. Turns out 8 to 20% of the ballots are stuffed. There's huge. We finally got the ability to inspect what we've been wanting to inspect since November 4th. It's kind of funny because Sidney Powell's appeal on her sanctions is next week. And she can finally argue, look, you're sanctioning me, Sidney Powell, for filing cases saying we should go inspect those ballots. Now that they have been inspected, we found exactly what we were suspecting. So how can you sanction me for anything? It turns out I was right. So she's got a clear, in any normal world, she's got a clear overturn on her sanctions. All the Michigan lawyers who've been sanctioned there is clearly overturned. We have found, and you should publicize this, we have found, if we had found this on November 4th or November 10th, it would have convinced the whole country. It just took us 2.5 years to fight our way to it, but we have it. Well, now Trump can get all that. We've already got a whole bunch of stuff done that we can just hand, and the stuff that we don't have done, he can just file subpoenas and get. How it will work, incidentally, Owen, is the judge will first figure out, is this well-formed, these cases? Like, is there actually even a case here, assuming everything the prosecutor says is truthful? I'm not even sure on these. And so only if that's true do they then go to this very long discovery process. I think that the actual trial is never going to happen before the election.
Pause it right there. We're up against the break. Let's talk about the trial and also the interesting stuff that you guys have seen that we should publicize. All right, Patrick Byrne with us here on the Alex Jones Show. Now, Patrick, you got cut off by the break, kind of getting into the strategy of what needs to be done now in these Trump cases. Do you want to pick it up from there, or you really got interrupted when you were explaining why you don't believe this is even going to make it to trial?
Well, before it makes it to trial, there's going to be this period which Trump can stretch out as long as he wants, a long time, with discovery requests. And in those discovery requests, we're going to get everything that they've been fighting since December or November 4th to give us. So there's that. It's never going to see trial before the election. And then I expect he will win in the general election because this will tick off so many people. The thing to make sure is that you do not let the fact that they're going to do this to Trump get you to do anything violent. What they want to do is provoke reaction out of you. And as angry as you may be, and hey, I'm not a Donald Trump voter. I'm in this because it's the right thing, and what they're doing is wrong. But they is absolutely wrong. You can't let them provoke you into violence because that's going to let them do what they really want to do anyway. So anyway, I can tell you their claims, like I'm not even sure their claim on the documents is well formed. I would think that's going to get serious judicial review and skepticism. I'm not sure the president can violate that oath because by definition, what he says is unclassified. He can wave his finger at something and say it's declassified. It's declassified. I happen to have witnessed that in the Oval Office too. I witnessed his own lawyers telling him, "Sir, you can give a job to Sidney Powell. You just have to say she's special counsel. She's special counsel." And he later did. He was angry at them. He said, "Okay, you said I can say it. I just say it." And then someone said, she doesn't have a security clearance. And somebody else, I think General Flynn, said, "You can do that verbally too." And General Flynn said, "Okay, Sidney Powell now has a security clearance." And the lawyers agreed. So it's accepted that once it's actually Marbury versus Madison. People forget what that case is, the substance of the case. They all remember the case establishes that the Supreme Court can have judicial review of congressional laws. But the substance of the case was an appointment had been given by somebody, but it hadn't all been executed, all the paperwork, before there was a change of administration. And the ruling is when the highest level official has made his decision, when the highest level official of any government act that needs to be decided has made his decision and says so, that's a done act. So Donald Trump, just by saying that over these documents, in addition, he wrote a letter that said these are declassified. So I don't think it's anything about violating that. I think that he probably walked out of the White House with a lot of dirt on a bunch of people, and this was their chance to recover it, I guess.
Yeah, when we're talking about the documents, that theory is out there, and there's still obviously a lot of mystery as to what was even in the documents. Most of it, according to Trump, is mundane and trivial, just kind of daily documents, activities. I mean, I'm sure you saw his Oval Office. This guy is, you might call him a paper pusher. He likes papers. He likes having paper in front of him. He likes having documents. He likes having file folders. He likes having boxes. He doesn't even do email. And so that just is kind of par for the course when it comes to Trump. And then he's got questions, and they say maybe somebody slipped something into here. So that's two now. You've got two of the cases. So do you think, though, does any of this make it to trial? Is it going to be a long, drawn-out discovery? I mean, I think they'd love to see Trump arrested. I think the Democrats would love to have Trump arrested and in jail before the next election.
Well, they can arrest him. But to put it, he's got to be bailed, and then
he'll get out on appeal.
Well, before you even appeal, you have to be. You get arrested, you get indicted, you get arrested, and then there's this and then you get released on bail, and there's this whole discovery period, and then you get tried. Well, that whole discovery period is going to take longer than we have before the election. So you won't see him tried for anything or convicted before the election of anything, I imagine. And then once he's in the election, this is all going to help him in the election. This is all going to backfire because actually all the facts about the election of 2020 are going to be coming out through this process, which is self-defeating for them. Ththese people remind me of Wile E. Coyote. come up with crazier and crazier schemes. Each one blows up in their face.
And it's even more applicable now with Joe Biden in there, the total goon. So, okay, you've seen interesting stuff, and obviously that's a problem. If there's massive voter fraud, then you know what? It might take some time to get that evidence and to sort it all out and figure out what really happened. You're saying that time has passed. We have enough now. I mean, what are some of the things that you think Trump could see now or needs to see now that he didn't see then?
Well, take, for example, the Tennessee error. In Williamson County, Tennessee, an error was discovered. Some woman working elections in 2021 just using Post-it notes discovered you feed 150 ballots into the machine, it gives you 87 votes. You feed 180 votes in, it gives you ballots in, it gives you 95 votes. It was all off. She called for the state. The state came in and did an investigation and found that like 8 out of 17 machines, tabulator machines, it's Dominion, Democracy Suite, 5.4B or something, have this error. And it's quite a strange error because it's reproducible. And normally if an error is created because there's a piece of lint over a lens, it's going to change, it's going to fluctuate. This is almost like it was programmed to do this. So the state called the federal government in, which brought the Election Assistant Corporation wing of the federal government in, which couldn't find it, couldn't explain it. They agreed that it was on 8 out of 17 machines. They started calling it the Tennessee error. They brought in the 2 testing laboratories, the VSLIs, who brought in Dominion, and none of them could find it. And there's no such thing as not being able to find it. If it's a computer program, you can step through it and you can find it. You can step through the functionality and see why it's doing this. Now, I put to you that if you had some stray code or some a glitch in the machine that let you rig it, and you got caught with this, your answer would be, oh, I can't find it. They said, we can't find, it's in computer science, it's called a report at the end, a root cause analysis. They gave a root cause analysis. Their root cause analysis was we couldn't find the root cause. Well, that's not a root cause analysis, but they said, don't worry, we've got it patched. We've got it patched, and we'll patch any county
but they didn't find it, but they fixed it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, we didn't find anything, but we fixed the thing we didn't find. Okay.
And we'll come and fix it on your county's machine, and you can't watch us as we install it.
And by the way, just so people understand this, because I'm not a computer programmer or coder, you know this better. The analogy would be like if there's a series of dominoes to push over and fall, and then you notice, hey, not all the dominoes fell. Well, you go find, oh, well, here's where there's a gap. This is why they didn't fall. And so it's easy to find that.
Bingo, on the nose. You can find it. There's no way you can't find it. But so the federal government, the EAC, and the testing laboratories and Dominion now refer formally to the Tennessee error. Well, let me tell you, the Tennessee error was tested. They looked for it in 69 Georgia counties they were allowed to inspect, and they discovered it in 65 out of 69 counties. They discovered it in Phoenix, Arizona. It's everywhere. There's a woman, Michelle Long Spears, a Democrat who ran for Congress last year. She lost in the primary. She was number 3 in the primary, Democrat. She goes and checks her precinct. Her precinct had 0 votes. Well, she knew she and her husband had voted for her, so she knew that something was wrong. She went and demanded a hand recount. They discovered she was the winner with 62%. So this Tennessee error is not a theory. It's what the government now calls, what Dominion has acknowledged exists, that was in 65 out of 69 Georgia counties, that's in Tennessee, that's all over the place, that will let us look. Oh, I'll close on this note. We have now looked at, some scientists have looked at the cast vote records, which we have found is a very quick way of finding the mischief. The cast vote records in 9 states, they've been able to examine 9 states' cast vote records. They found in 80% of the counties across 9 states, there is election manipulation.
All right, this is incredible information. We're up against the final break here with Patrick Byrne. Part of me wants to jump through my screen here and into the ocean behind him, but that would probably hurt my head, and so I'm going to not think about that. Patrick, hold that thought. We got one more segment, folks. Don't go anywhere. This is incredible information. Well, it's an amazing thing. Honestly, the best bet you can make at this point, whatever they, and we know who they is, whatever they accuse Donald Trump of, they are most likely guilty of themselves. That's pretty much the simplest way to put this. And when they cry election interference, it's them that engage in election interference. Now, Patrick Byrne is breaking this down, how this third indictment of Trump can open up the window of opportunity for discovery and evidence to be put forth in a courtroom that says, yes, clearly there is reasons to question the results of the 2020 election, if not outright proof of fraud. And so, Patrick, you were getting into some of the stuff that you've seen. And here's the thing, too. I hear the arguments coming, which is, oh, that's just one county, or that's just one this or one that. No, these are not isolated incidents. When you find one thing, you investigate further. So, I mean, how long could you talk about the stuff that you have discovered?
Oh, we could talk all day and night. I can go on and on. There are so many reports, so many of these findings everywhere people have been. So that Williamson County, Tennessee error, it's been found in Pennsylvania. Fulton County, Pennsylvania inspected their own equipment. The dirty Secretary of State and Attorney General tried to stop them. They got it done anyway, and they found the error within their own equipment. So, and I think that equipment is involved in tabulating 40% of the ballots counted in America. Has a Tennessee, is the model of that has the, maybe it's 25% or something. That is this Democracy Suite 5.4. So, I mean, our systems are, I've been the CEO of a public company, and when you have to report quarterly numbers to the world, and sometimes it happens that you're going along and you find out, oh, there's some glitch in the system you built 18 months ago down in the bowels when you started that new program, and how it was all, this fitting was supposed to connect to that. And the accounting wasn't right. And the accounting wasn't right. And there's several $100,000 or maybe a couple $1 million that didn't get accounted for. The moment you know that's a possibility as the CEO of a public company, if that's even a possibility, you have like 24 to 48 hours to come out and tell the world, folks, we need to inform you that those numbers we gave you in the past, they're not reliable. We're going to dig in, and within 30 days, we'll have it all figured and we'll get the truth to you. You have that obligation as a public CEO.
And Donald Trump is the CEO of America, and this is what he's seeing.
If I ran any of the Detroit, of the different operations, these election operations, they are far, far beyond the point they should be worrying about anything they signed. They signed and certified a whole bunch of stuff that turned out to be lies. And everywhere you dig into it, it's lies. Here's one of the most important things. You must know about Tina Peters, Owen. You know that story about that wonderful woman?
Yeah, and by the way, she is one of many expert witnesses that revealed what they saw the day of the election.
Yeah, and it's not just what they saw. They found, thanks to her, they took an image was gotten of the hard drive of that machine before the Colorado State Soros people showed up and wiped it clean. And what they discovered was there, in fact, yes, they did destroy 100,000 files, which is 100,000 crimes. Setting that aside, what they discovered is the election of 2020 had an illegal manipulation in the middle of it. Something woke up, some hidden code within the machine woke up, created a new database, sucked over 24,000 votes, but 6,000 extra votes showed up in a county that has 100,000 votes. So that behavior on that machine is entirely consistent with there being a hidden script, which is entirely consistent with the Tennessee error. The whole
so
Tennessee
it sounds
error,
to me, because I'm trying to make sure the language here so that people that don't understand computer science might understand. So it sounds like basically, let's say the results are coming in and Trump is winning, and there's something hidden in the algorithm in the machine that as soon as, let's say, Trump goes up 5%, it flips on and all of a sudden the things change. That sounds like what you're talking about.
It looks like what happened in Mesa County, Colorado, which is where Grand Junction is, in 2020. And the same thing happened in May of 2021 in a city election where the machine gets through counting a quarter of the votes, then it wakes up and it creates a new illegal database without any further human intervention, siphons the votes over to make it look like it was the original database, and then adds a bunch of votes and did some manipulation. And then counts the rest of the 75% of the votes. That happened in Mesa County. There's no explanation. And that would be entirely consistent with this Tennessee error that the government itself is now admitting, that Dominion now admits, the election system, it's not crazy theories, it's the EAC of the federal government now admits there's this thing called the Tennessee error in a whole bunch of these machines. So Trump, you'd think he's got a layup. He's got a shot from the pain anyway. I think it's ridiculous that they're going to look terrible. This is going to blow up in their face because we now have all the data. Plus, now that he's got subpoena power, we can not only feed him the results of everything we've done for 2 years, all of this kind of stuff that's been 15, 20 places, stories like I just given you. I think they're going to napalm. And so anyway, I think they're going to win those cases, but it's never going to get to trial because he's going to be president first.
Well, and
really be what
you've seen a lot of, and you've been reporting this too, going around in media interviews, a lot of the stuff that you've seen from the forensic analysis. Others have been doing this as well. But even just from what's out there publicly, what any common American can go see, they can go look at the voting results in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Georgia and Arizona that all look the exact same with the vote Viagra for Biden, just going straight up, just straight. I mean, if you gave this to a second grader and you said, "Hi, second grader, find the anomaly in this line graph," they would point right to the vote Viagra for Biden at 3:30 in the morning. This happened in 5 states. We can show the trucks pulling up with truckloads of ballots at 3 in the morning. I mean, it's like all this is public available. The 3,000 Mules documentary. I mean, there's enough just available to the public to raise question.
Do you know where else that happened, Owen? That happened in Ukraine in 2014. That happened in Fallujah in Iraq 2008. It happened in the Philippines in 2010 and 2016. It happened in Ghana. It happened everywhere they use this equipment. And every time there's a crazy story about why we had to shut down. Oh, we had to shut down counting because somebody spilled something, or because a water main overflowed, or because the Russians had an attack, or because the sun's rising in the west. So we had to shut down counting. And what do you know? When we turn it back up, in the counting, there's this, what do you call it? Vote Viagra?
Yeah, I call it vote Viagra.
Funny.
It sends it straight up. I mean, that's, but Biden needed 2, though. Biden actually, if you go look, Biden needed multiple vote Viagras.
Well, he's older. It happened all over the world. It happens all over the world where there are these phony elections. This happens. And they have different cockamamie stories to explain it in each one. It's absurd. So I think that he's got them beat. I don't even think these cases are well formed. A good judge should throw these out like, why is it possibly sedition or no? Well, they don't have, the J6 charges aren't about sedition or insurrection. It just has to do with interfering with a federal process or something. So I guess they're going to say, well, by telling people to march to the Capitol and by insinuating, or they're going to say he insinuated to go inside and disrupt Congress, that was disrupting a federal proceeding. Is that?
That's the argument, more or less, yes.
That sounds like a good judge should say this is just shouldn't. Oh, this is going in front of a judge I know, a judge out in, she was Maria Butina's judge. She was his Obama second-term appointment.
Tanya Chutkan?
Yeah, Tanya Chutkan. Look up. I've written about Ms. Chutkan, Her Honor Chutkan. I've written about her. And you can look her up on Deep Capture. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel comfortable knowing that this Obama-appointed judge from Jamaica is certainly not going to go in there with any bias or any anti-white bigotry or trying to get revenge for any of her black ancestors against the white man. I feel confident that that's not going to happen.
You know what happened with Maria Butina? You know about the rape and murder?
Well, if you want to talk about it, we got 90 seconds till we're off air. Might be another story for another day.
Her whole, I set up the federal government in a great, anyway, Her Honor Chutkan's fact-finding in the case of Maria Butina turned out to be amazingly short-sighted and leave something to be desired. I'll leave it at that.
And that was a part of the big Russian collusion nonsense that they were trying to build a narrative on. Patrick Byrne, thank you so much for your excellent analysis today.
Thank you, Owen. It's a pleasure to be on with you again.
All right, now go enjoy that beach for us all, please, for all of us here.
Hey, this is Hoboken, New Jersey. I just have a good green screen, but I'm in Hoboken, New Jersey, okay?
Patrick Byrne, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the Alex Jones Show for today. I'll be hosting the War Room. We got a lot of great guests and news coverage and maybe some breaking news from Alex Jones as well. Remember, InfoWarsStore.com is how everything we do here is possible. Vitamin Mineral Fusion back in stock. This is one of our most top-selling supplements at InfoWarsStore.com. It's in stock right now, 25% off. Take advantage of this sale while supplies last. 25% off Vitamin Mineral Fusion at InfoWarsStore.com. All right, click it on over, band.video to the War Room channel. That's where I'll be in 5 minutes.
I'm looking for partners, collaborators, colleagues who want to join forces with me around the globe and create real value, generational wealth, and financial freedom for everyone else around the world. Get involved in the cryptocurrency markets, get involved in the NFT markets. This is your moment. Life all comes down to a few moments. Don't let this pass. Now it's not too late. Next year's going to be too late. Ultimately, this is about freedom. That's the way I see it. This is about giving power back to the people and enabling billions of people worldwide to use the financial markets to improve their lives and those of their friends and their families and their communities. Honestly, I think it's a violation of human rights not to allow people basic access to financial services. Because right now people are being kept in the dark, they're being robbed of education, and it's a travesty. And so I'm looking for people that want to join me and be a part of this solution. And that all happens inside the DeFi Academy. The gains my students are making are absolutely amazing. Double, triple-digit gains in the first month alone. That's amazing. This will change your life. Now is the time to get involved. I'm going to tell you exactly how my students in my academy made money in the last 30 days. I'm talking about real trading results. And let me just whet your appetite a little bit. Let me hit you with some numbers. I'm talking Brendan from New Zealand is up 68.77% on the month. Steve from Europe up 83%. Albert in Singapore up 169.9% on one single trade. I got Susan up 153% on her call options alone. Also rocking 139% returns and 442% returns as well on individual trades. These are people that are changing their financial future in the last 30 days, but it's based on trading discipline.
I've graduated over 500 students from inside my academy from over 54 countries around the world. It's amazing. When it comes to crypto, DeFi, and blockchain, we love this space. We truly believe it's the future. This is down to our core. It's authentic to what we're doing, and everybody can tell through the camera because you can't make this stuff up.
If you're watching me now, wherever you are, I implore you, take 60 seconds right now and join my academy. Apply today. Now you've got a chance. Life all comes down to a few moments. What are you going to do? What's the choice that you're going to make?